I put my
It's
if
not peace, family. Hold on a second. Yeah. We here today. We got Brother Marvin. Yeah, I try to play that high vibration music for y'all, man. I hope that when I play that music, I hope y'all listening, man. You know, that music right there, that song right there was about deprogramming you from, the stuff that we talk about. And it's funny that you still got talented rappers that can make hip hop, create hip hop without, he didn't cuss in it one time. He didn't sell no dope. Nobody got shot. Ain't no he didn't call a girl a bitch. None of that. He was able to articulate his words and lyrics and break down, deprogramming you from your program. Um, we got Brother Marvin here today. He's going to go in. Basically, I'm gonna mute up. He's going to go in and he's going to do a presentation today based off of health and protecting yourself in this hazardous environment. So, with no further shenanigans, um, I want to bring Brother Marvin. I want y'all to see in the description box and also in the banner that's going across. You have Brother Marvin's cash app, $sign Marvin Burrow cash app. You have my cash app as well in there. So you have both our cash apps in. All right, yeah, okay. So yeah, there you go. So without further shenanigans, uh, Marvin, the floor is yours, brother.
yo yo, what it do, everybody? Give me a second. Gotta transition some stuff to the other screen so I can see what's popping. You guys looking at some studies that I had to go through yesterday, but yeah. So before we get started, these are all the social media channels and the information that you guys will need as far as support is concerned. So my Instagram, I tried to make sure I followed suit as much as I could based on what I was doing. So Marvin Health and Arts is the current name that I'm under right now on YouTube. That's the one where I do all the health information and stuff. You'll see on Instagram, I also have a photography channel for people who are into photography, visuals, and things like that. So, I already have like an artist mentality when it comes to a lot of what I do, which you're going to find out based on the slides I design. There's a lot of aesthetics, you know, that make the slides look a certain way on purpose. The Cash App is second. Facebook, again, Marvin Health and Arts, Marvin Burwell Photography. The names are all the same. And then, of course, on YouTube, you got me and George Megan too, because we've been banging and doing a lot of stuff for a while. So those are the two primary places that you can find me on YouTube. Not listed here is my Patreon account, which is patreon.com/ Marvin Burwell, same name. So if you guys support there, then that's something where you get kind of reciprocation, meaning that I give you something, you get something back, and there's also other little perks that go along with it. So again, that's patreon.com/ Marvin Burwell. There's three levels of support. There's 5, 15, and a $25 level. And depending on how high you go, depends on, what kinds of information you want and how deep you want me to go in it. So that's another way you guys can support if you like. All right. So with that being said, if you did not make it to my event earlier this year, this was the title card for the event. It was called Health, Nature, Healing of the Human Body Part 2 because Part 1 was a smaller event that went on the year
Oops.
before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I muted. I had muted the mic by accident.
Okay, mine's or yours?
I muted my mic. I think if I mute my mic, they can't hear you. So that
Oh,
was,
for real?
yeah,
That'd be weird.
yeah.
All right.
Oh no, no. They probably still can hear you. I'm sorry. I'm tripping. Don't worry about me. I'm stuck in stupid for a minute. I'm still
They're
getting.
asking me, Amber's asking me, can I get as loud as George? Are y'all having trouble hearing me? Like, are you having any issues hearing me,
No, I
George?
can hear you. I can hear you good. I got you hooked up to my speakers.
Okay. What about anybody else in the chat who's there? Y'all guys let me know. Make sure y'all can hear me very well. Because I don't want to be going in and y'all can barely hear me. That
Yeah,
would
they said
suck.
they can hear you fine.
Okay. All right, that's what's up.
Yeah, my bad. I muted up and I thought I muted
Yep.
it. I'm tripping. Go ahead.
So before I start, I have to give the disclaimer that comes with all health information, and I hope y'all out there do the same thing if you're not a doctor. This is meant to provide educational information only. I personally do not claim to diagnose, cure, treat, or heal any disease. The human body performs these functions on its own. This info is not meant to be taken as medical advice. Please follow the laws of your local municipality. Please consult your physician before use of any herbs, chemicals, or partaking in any exercise when you're ill or under a physician's care. That's my standard disclaimer. It means that any decisions that you guys choose to make, I am giving you proper education, but it is up to you to choose to do your research and utilize it in communication with your specific doctor, just so you fill all the bases before you decide to go trying things, okay? So without further ado, let's get it popping. I'm gonna rattle through the first few slides fairly quickly. Some of them I'll make a little pit stop on because you
Yeah,
need a little bit
they,
of
they
detail
saying
on them.
they saying that you're a little low. I wonder why is that?
Give me a second. I'm gonna replug in my headset again. I don't know why.
Yeah, because you coming loud over here, but you coming through my speaker. So
Yeah. How do I sound? Y'all tell me because I can't tell. My headset is like literally right next to my mouth, so I can't really get any better than that. The most I can do is turn my volume up louder, but I don't think that has anything to do with it.
no, they said there you go.
All right. What I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna try and put some bass in my voice. Let's say that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try and speak. I'm gonna try and speak up a little more so you guys kind of can hear me regardless. Okay. So now that we've got the standard disclaimer out of the way, all right, let's move on. Next slide. We're starting with the word universe. Universe meaning one, singularity of sound, singularity of frequency. When I say singularity, I just mean one. That's all I mean. All dimensions start with a point. A point moves in two directions, which is a line. A line moves into a plane, which is a 3D space that you can move within. And then after the 3D space comes time. Time is not a part of what they call the Fibonacci sequence. What is the Fibonacci sequence? It means that if I take the number one and I use the number one next to it, one plus one equals two. Now I take the last two numbers, two plus one equals three. Three plus two equals five. There's no fourth dimension in the Fibonacci sequence because time is not a direct concept. It's an abstract thing used for calculations. Okay. What you're looking at on the screen right now is the way that the universe unfolds. It unfolds in a spiral graph pattern. It does not go left. It does not go right. It's not linear. Things don't move in one direction. They move in two directions, and they don't move in a straight line. They move in a twisting S curve, which builds to make this the specific shape you see on the screen today. The middle picture is what happens when you put a magnet under a ferrocell. What is a ferrocell? It's made with iron based fluid. And if you shine a light through it, it will show you the pattern of a magnetic field. Now, with magnetic fields, there is a term. Some of these terms I give you guys are on purposely going to be big terms because I want you to have heard them before, whether you remember them or not. This presentation is pretty deep. I don't expect you guys to remember everything I say. What I want you to do is listen to the topics I'm speaking on. Make sure you got it, at least the point that I'm making, and move your brain on to the next thing. If you're trying to store a bunch of things at once, you're not going to be able to do all of it at one time. So just rock with me for where I am. And if you have questions, you guys or George will kind of stop me and have me elaborate to give you a more clear understanding on it. That's fine. All right. So spiral graph pattern in the middle. The black patterns, the black locations are what they call destructive interference. The light patterns are what they call constructive interference. The areas where the spiral is lit up is where the strongest magnetic fields are. The earth is the same way. So in the ancient times, ancient Kemet and stuff, they used to build civilizations on what they call the ley lines because they had the strongest magnetic field. This is where you can perform crazy stuff like technologies that might allow things like teleportation, the ability for your body to light up, the ability to move and open doors based on strong electromagnetic fields. All the stuff that people think is pseudo and all that stuff in the universe can happen when you're under greater magnetic fields in alignment with the universe. Okay. Let's move on. So you see with the opening, the name of the shapes that the universe unfolds in. This picture on the left with all the colors in it, the oval shape going from left to right is called a toroid or a donut shape. So just remember donut shape. If you invert it, meaning take the opposite of it, because you're talking about duality now, you're not talking about universe or one sound or one frequency. Now you're talking about the unraveling of more frequencies. So the inverted, so if you have a donut on one shape, the inversion of that is called the hourglass shape or the hyperboloid. So now you know that there's space that you live in and there's counter space. because energy is not created nor destroyed, but transferred from one position to another. Okay, let's keep going. Some real life examples of what I'm talking about. You got the pine cone in the middle. Notice the spiral graph pattern. That's how it unfolds. Look at the tornado and how it unfolds. Look at the hurricane, how it unfolds. Look at plant life that you guys have in your backyard, roses, dandelions. This is what they call the golden ratio, the ratio at which things unfold. Now, I'm not using a lot of pictures in this presentation and physical demonstrations like I did at my event. So everything is mainly vocal with the visuals that I have here on the slides. So I can't give you the exact description that I can like that I gave at the event, but you're at least getting the idea. Okay. If you need to see how the golden ratio works, look at your hand. Your fingers have marks on them going, cutting your finger into thirds basically. What happens is if you take the tip of your finger to the first line and then you go from that first line to the bottom of your finger, that's golden ratio. From the bottom of a finger to the bottom of the palm, that's golden ratio. From the bottom of your hand, where the palm meets the arm, meets the forearm, all the way to the elbow, that's more golden ratio. It's the rate at which things unfold in the universe. Okay, let's move. You went from universe to duality. Duality can be sun and moon. It can be left and right. It can be up and down, as above, so below, whatever it is. Yin and yang. Where there's good and bad, there's a little bit of each in each one. Where there's male and female, there's a little bit of each principle in each one. So there's a balance in nature amongst everything. You got the Libra of scales in the middle. They used to call it the laws of Ma'at back in the day. Ma'at meant balance, a way of creating balance. Your body and the universe is always using its systems to create balance. What you need to understand about the universe is where a problem is created in one field, it duplicates on other dimensions, but it also has a counter effect. Meaning, let's say that 75% of the earth is bad. In counter space or somewhere in the universe, depending on how things kind of change and shift back together, there's something that's 75% good. So just because you don't come face to face with the opposite doesn't mean it doesn't exist in nature. This is why we are universal creatures connected to what we call God. We're attached to everything. Okay. So just know that things reciprocate and they work to create balance. The further you push it out of balance, the harder it comes crashing back into balance. Think of the stock market today. People were spending so much time creating bubbles by overpricing houses, by shoving money into the economy to bail out banks who were in trouble. Eventually, it all came crashing down into one direction. When if they'd have fixed it in the beginning, it wouldn't have been such a hard blow to us. Okay, so I'm showing you how nature connects to reality. Let's keep going. Light, very important. Everything in the universe is light. Frequency starts with a disturbance. In the Bible, they call it the sound. In the beginning, there was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God. A word is not words that I'm like speaking, things you can, understand. It's a sound. Whether you can hear the sound has to do with your body's ma'at balance when it comes to frequency. There's certain sounds you can't hear, certain sounds you can hear, and certain sounds above the threshold of which you can take it and it'll destroy your body. Okay? All of it is a form of light because a frequency is movement and movement is disturbance. Disturbances create friction, heat, light, magnetism, and if you're talking about the unfolding of space, it creates space. Okay? So hopefully everybody's with me real quick. I'm giving you a baseline of everything to come. Everything is a form of light based on frequency. If the frequency is too low, you can't see it, hear it, touch it. If the frequency is in the livable zone, you can touch it, hear it, and take part in it. If it's above the threshold, it can harm, hurt, break because it's in a different dimension than you're allowed to live in. Okay? Keep rocking. All right, I'm flipping back and forth. You're looking at solar climates, polar climates. This is the baseline of racism and why the world is the way it is today. I'll give you the explanation I gave at my event. In a solar climate, food grows, it's on the trees, there's green grass, clean water, everything's pristine. The people are dark skinned because that location gives off higher vibrations in forms of frequency, which means more friction, more light, more radiation. So you have to have the biology to withstand it, hence why you have the darker skin depending on how close to the equator you are. Because when you're closer to the equator, or what they call Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, you can look that up on your maps. You're in the zone where there's a lot of UV radiation from the sun coming in. You have to have the biology to be able to survive there. Okay? Keep on rocking. Polar climates, nothing's growing on the trees. There's really no soil around. It's very cold, so there's no heat. There's very little solar, heightened solar radiation coming to this location. How do we put the two together? Let's use general concepts. In a warm climate, you're being fed by the environment. The air is clean, it's warm, but because there's a lot of radiation, you have to have a biology that can withstand a higher vibration. So bones are denser, skin is darker because it's absorbing more radiation, which means more combined light. More combined light, when colors come together, they start to turn dark in pigment. In luminance, meaning light, moves to white. But when it comes to pigment and physical things, it moves more to black and brown because you're combining colors. If you guys want to test that yourself, go ahead and grab some colored pencils and paint. As you combine colors, it's going to move towards gray, towards brown, towards black. Unified colors of light is higher vibration, and you have to have the biology, and the proof of that is your skin color. Okay, so you are a unification of many types of light, and if light is information, then you have lots of light in you. And more information equals a denser structure. So your bones are denser, the processes within your body happen faster because you're able to absorb higher levels of frequency or radiation, right? This is where your melanin is important. If you take what I'm saying now, you can understand why people were making the comment that black people weren't getting coronavirus. But it had nothing to do with black people can't get it. It had to do with black people have a certain biology where if it's being treated correctly, it has a greater strength against outside invaders. Okay? In cold climates, think about it. All right, so we're in a hot climate, right? Which way does our hair reach? Our hair coils up, packages up, and reaches towards the sun. Darker skinned people tend to have less hair on their body because hair helps break up some of the radiation being received. So you have more hair generally the lighter your skin gets. Okay. So you get fed, everything's cool, everything's civilized, everything's provided for you. Is that in a cold region? No, it's cold. So your hair falls down to cover your ears, your neck, your extremities. So your body's trying to stay warm. You also don't have a melanin based system. You have more an ammonia based system. Ammonia in cold weather makes a person hot. Okay, so when you're asking the question, why are they wearing shorts in the wintertime and stuff like that? That's biochemistry. Also, light colors are not unifying all the lights in the spectrum. So you're going to see colors other than brown and black because there's not enough light and pigment being imbued into that biological organism to present brown and black, except in locations it's necessary, like the pupils of the eyes and the substantia nigra, which means substantially black in the middle of your brain. So everybody is different types of melanin. You just have the skin to help you in a radiation high environment or a high frequency environment. Okay. So with that being said, cold people don't have food falling off the trees. So they have to consider their environment. They got to build caves, which is why you have cave culture. They also don't have a lot of heat. So more clothing has to be created. They don't have the food. So hunting becomes a big deal. So in cold weather, you have to hunt. In warm weather, everything's presented to you. You have no reason to hunt unless you're taught to, because everything is falling off the tree. So you gather. So where did hunter-gatherer come from? Based on what we can see in the environment, people from a warm climate gather, people from a cold climate hunt. When they meet each other, hunter-gatherer, or a cheeseburger with lettuce and tomatoes, a chicken salad. You see what I'm saying? Pepper steak. You start getting meals combined with cold climate culture and warm climate culture. So understand when you're eating foods, what you're doing to yourself. It's not about whether your body can digest it. It's about what is your body built to properly digest in its environment. So yeah, you can eat some meat and it'll take a minute to digest, which it shouldn't have to do. But when you eat plants, that digestion goes through fast and you get everything you need. Your body doesn't have to get thicker and bigger because it's becoming denser. Bones are made with a crystal structure. So every time you eat really good food in a sunny climate, your body's not really trying to get, like bigger in terms of how thick it is. It might get taller because the crystal structure of your bone is starting to slice up more, which makes it denser. Think about it. Do you make a if I told you to take a thin branch off of a tree and snap it in half, you could do it with no problem. But if I gave you six branches and I bundled them together with a rubber band and you told you to break it, whether you could or not, it's much harder to break. That's density. It's more structure to it. Even though it's individual pieces, they are what we call coherent. A 5 watt light bulb is incoherent because the light spreads out. If I make it coherent, it's a laser. 5 watts can now burn a hole in your ass. So hopefully you guys understand that. Okay. So coherency, incoherency. People who come from a warm climate have coherent biology. It's more materials packed into a thinner structure. When you're in a cold climate, the cold can get to your internal organs faster. So they need a thicker, shorter stature so that the wind doesn't knock you over and the chill doesn't get to your core faster. So if you guys ever been working out and wondering why you can't get thick and heavy and wondering why that's the face of being a strong person, that's cold climate culture. To be thicker and big in muscles is cold climate culture. To be thinner but denser, meaning I might be thin, but I don't break easily. I swing and move faster. I can stand in sunlight longer and absorb more radiation, meaning my body conducts more electricity. So everything I do is faster than what you do and denser than what you do. So now think about when you go to the doctor's office. Oh, your blood pressure is this. This is the standard of blood pressure. Is the standard for cold climate the standard for warm climate? No, warm climate is probably going to have a slightly faster heart rate, which means it's going to have a higher blood pressure. Whereas cold climate causes pressure to go down, which is going to make you have a lower blood pressure. But here's the funny thing. When you're in a warm climate, you're trying to figure out how to have that efficiency with less energy output. So you're trying to find ways to lower your blood pressure, which is from exercise. It makes your heart rate lower. But in a cold climate, you have to be able to raise your blood pressure so you can pump and create more friction in your body. Because when the heart pumps harder, generates more electricity, more friction, more heat, more light, more magnetism. So that keeps you warmer in that climate. And by having the ammonia system inside your body in a cold climate, that's helping to create more heat too. And foods high in nitrogen, AKA meat based proteins, are going to present more nitrogen, which makes more ammonia in your body, which causes a person in a cold climate to feel more hot. So now you swimming around in Antarctic water. All right, I think I beat that one enough. I think you guys understand that. Let me know something in the chat. Let me know you guys understand that. Let me know everything is crispy so far. Everything's crispy clean and you understand it.
Yeah, we understand.
All right, let's keep rocking.
So let me ask you real quick. So you want to basically correlate this into how these things affect us as biologically as opposed to other people?
Yeah, keep an eye because I've actually been giving you pieces already. Because remember when I was saying yesterday they was trying to make it seem like black people was all, oh my God, they're so sick. Why are they so sick? Is all right, let me ask you, George. You're very good at geography and location. Is it equatorial in Chicago?
Equatorial? Well,
Yeah, meaning is it a solar climate or is
no,
it more cold than hot?
it's cold. It's cold. Most it's
Okay.
cold season.
Well, the doctors always tell you the further you get away from the equator, there's higher prevalence of what? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure.
Yep, I'm gonna mute up. I'm gonna let you handle
Okay.
that.
So yeah, if they tell you all of that, then you know right away, black people in a colder climate are already down one right there because you're not getting the light, the radiation, and the proper vitamin D levels from being in the radiation for your body to be as strong as your body should be. See, the sun can come trickling along for a couple of months at a time for a white person, and they throw their skin in the sun, and all of a sudden they got 20,000 IUs of vitamin D in a matter of minutes. You got to be out there longer. And if you're not out there longer, you're definitely not getting the vitamin D and radiation and sunlight you need because you live in a colder climate. I know I'm in Philly. This is northern side of United States. So we only get from mid-April to about September where UVB radiation, which is ultraviolet level B, which allows your cholesterol to convert to vitamin D. That's how you know you're not getting enough sun. If you're only getting UVB between mid-April to about September, that's like what? How many months? April, May, June, July, August, September. So 5 out of 12. About 5 out of 12, because you only get about half of April. So about 5 out of 12 months, you're getting proper sunlight and you dark as hell. That ain't gonna work out too well for you. You can take supplements all you want. There, I'm just gonna tell y'all this now. There is no substitute for the sun. You are never going to supplement yourself back to proper health. A doctor will tell you your vitamin D levels look good. You're still from the equator based on your genetics. You're white, black. If you're black, solar. If you're white, polar. If you're mixed, you're somewhere in between trying to figure that whole thing out. Okay? So, with that being said, let's keep going. I want to beat that dead horse because some of the stuff you guys are going to get as you go along. Take a look at the spectrum. Now, notice right about you look at the bar that has the tiny bit of color. Don't look at the very bottom bar. Look at the one just above it where it's black on both sides and a little bit of color in there. The little bit of color in the middle is the visible light spectrum. Does that mean that is all the light in the universe? No, it's the spectrum that your eyes can has the sensitivity to pick up color. When the vibration is too low coming from the color, it falls into black. You can't see it. So when it gets nighttime and you see things turning black, there's not enough light within your eye's sensitivity level for you to pick up color. As the sun comes up, radiation comes in, you can pick up more frequencies of color falling in the visible spectrum. Now, if the frequency gets too high, you're still going to have that issue. It's the frequencies and the colors are going to unite so much, they're going to fall into black again, just like your skin does, as above, so below. The reason this electromagnetic spectrum is so important, and I'm showing it to you guys, is because this relates to the 5G conversation. I want you to look at the waveform. Look above the color bar I was just telling you about. These are all frequencies on this chart. Now look at the little spaghetti-like line that's going up and down. 1G going towards 4G is going to look like the left side of the wavy line. You see how far apart? George, I'm gonna need some yeses and nos. So just give me some nods in here. Just come in real quick. Give me some yeses and nos. All right, so check it out. You see the left side of this squiggly line, George? You see how you see it like right in the middle of the chart. You see how it's really far apart where the top portion and the bottom portion is, how far apart these are?
Yes.
All right. So on the left side, where the squiggly lines are not really tightly together, that's your 1G going up to 4G. Now, mind you, the lines get tighter as you go from 1 to 4G. But what happens is when that line is that long like that, that means that the signal from the tower can go further, but it cannot carry a lot of information with it. Hence why 1G is a very far apart line, like the squiggly line would be very far apart, or the frequency between the highs and lows are far apart. Hence low frequency, right? Because it reaches the top of the, it takes a long time to reach the top of the mountain and come back down, and it's far apart. So that's low frequency. You're not hitting the mountaintops as fast, but the signal goes far. When you get to 5G, you're now going from 2.4 gigahertz to over 100. It gets really dangerous between 20 and 100, but it's still dangerous below that because the frequency resonance of the Earth is in like the 7 to 8 kilohertz range. You're not now talking about gigahertz. I want you guys to think about your megabytes and your terabytes and your gigabytes on your hard drive. There's a big difference between them. So when the lines start to get really packed tight together, that's 5G, meaning the signal does not go very far, but is strong as shit in a shorter position, which means it can carry a lot of information. So eventually what happens is they call it millimeter because they become so packed tight together. It's millimeter waves. Okay. So what you're going to find, there's an article going around right now. When you get really close to a 5G tower and the signal coming off is very strong, there's a trigger in the phone and on the tower to shut your phone off because you're going to be getting radiated so much being that close. It's going deep. Now, what's another thing? That long, like that 1G to 4G where the wavelength is not very, close together, like it's not packed tight together. Because it has the ability to go far distances, it can push through different areas more. So if you have a low frequency vibration, it can penetrate walls better because it can go further distances. Okay. So even though a wall might stop it from going as far as it would, it still goes pretty far. So let's say a 3G signal, you put up a tower and that tower can see 25 miles. If you make that signal have to go through a wall, that 25 might shrink to 23 miles. However, with 5G, You can, all right, so let's do that again, right? That 3G tower can go 25 miles. If it has to go through a wall or more than one wall, it starts to kind of shrink it because it has to go through walls. However, it can go 25 miles. At the same time, because it can go that far, it can penetrate deeper into your skin. Now, your skin has a hell of a barrier. So instead of maybe not a wall knocking off 2 miles, your skin might take that 25 and knock it down to two because your skin got that kind of a defense to it. But nonetheless, the length of that wave allows it to penetrate your skin. Once you get to the 5G, you're carrying more data in a shorter period. That's the advantage of it. The wavelength is faster, so more data is traveling faster and much more data is getting through at one time. The longer wavelength took a long time to get where it needed to go and come back, so you weren't carrying a lot of data. So with the 5G, it doesn't travel 25 miles. The signal can't get that far. The signal maybe gets 10 miles, but that signal alone, maybe it's not, before you had to take, with your 3G, your 2G, it might have took you 3 hours to download a 4K movie like Infinity War. But with the 5G, it's carrying the density where you can download that same movie in a matter of seconds. So we're talking about serious change in amount of data that can actually be carried. All right. More data can't go as far. Lots of data,
Hey,
very little.
let me ask you real fast though.
Yep.
But with this big uproar and everybody's talking about, because from the way you're explaining it like how think this 5G could be made convenient for us because it downloads things, it takes in information faster. But when we talk about these biological hazards to our health, why is it such an uproar? Like, what's the difference between a 3G or what a 5G would be?
Okay. So like I just, like, you know how I just said they're going to have a higher free. All right. Now we're going to connect some dots because you asked that question. Based on what I told you already, can a white person stay in the sun as long as a black person?
No,
And what's the reason they can't? I know a lot of people want to say melanin, but can you tell me why not?
no, not.
Melanin, it's a part of it, but try and connect the dots a little bit. Why do you think they can't?
You have to tell me.
Because of higher frequency of light. When we say UVA, UVB, UVC, or the sun is up higher, beating down more radiation on us, the radiation we're talking about is the vibrations of light. If I send low vibrations of light, like for instance, anybody out there, start rubbing your hands together real slow. You're not going to feel no heat because the frequency is low. Can you hear my hands, George?
Yeah.
That's a certain frequency. Every time one hand glides across the other, you count one, two, three, four, five, six. But if I do it faster, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, higher frequency. It's like me telling somebody to punch you one time every hour or punch you as hard as they can once every second. You get the difference?
So okay, so the 5G is creating way more frequency, so it's going
The
to create more energy.
Right. The frequency you're getting hit with the beams is faster. So if I want you to make it seem like the same way I'm telling you about the punches, I want you to think about the beams hitting you. So with okay, a black person is like having you got on metal armor. So if I tell you to punch as hard as you can for 5 seconds as fast as you can, and how fast you punch is the frequency. And I'm wearing a steel chest plate. It's going to take you a minute to get through that before it'll hurt me.
Right.
Now, I want you to look at white people as if they're wearing paper, but I'm telling them to do the same thing. But your chest armor is paper. How long it's going to take to get through?
Okay, I get it because they're in the sun, so they outside of their natural environment.
Right. So when they're in a cold environment, remember the friction of the hand rubbing I told you? In a cold climate, it's like rubbing your hands together real slow. In a hot climate, you rubbing them shits together real fast. And if you do it too fast, what's going to start to happen in between your hands?
It's going to start heating up.
There you go. And what happens when a white person stays in the sun too long?
They start getting sunburn.
Because they're heating up too much. Because the frequency's hitting them so hard for so long, it's burning them. Because the heat from the friction. Remember, every time two things touch, that's friction.
So
that touch keeps happening rapidly if it introduces heat.
So would a 5G hurt them first more than it will hurt us?
If y'all saw Black Ice TV online with Inky yesterday, that's exactly what Inky was saying. He was like, if they're trying to kill us through radiation from the cell phone towers, it's radiation through frequency. Who the hell you think gonna burn up first? If y'all still confused over what radiation is, what happens when you get hit with a nuke?
it destroys everything. The radiation kills everything.
because the radiation level is too what?
Too
High.
strong, too high, right?
The friction that are being created by the atoms banging back and forth and blowing up is creating a frequency of radiation so damn high it penetrates everything: skin, grass, trees. It burns it up. Too much heat, too much friction,
Okay.
and the friction is so strong very fast, right? So 5G has a higher vibration, so the punches is hitting you faster.
So should we be afraid of this 5G as much as it's being reported?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if it's going to kill white people, it's going to hurt black people. You see what I mean? You can when you have more time to figure it out, right? Because if the sun, let's say the sun start getting closer to the earth and the average temperature is 105, the more melanin you got, the greater amount of time you got to figure out your answer. But for a person who gonna burn up in a matter of 5 seconds, ain't no time. It's like, well, fuck, I'm dead. Like, you having the protection is going to allow you to withstand the radiation longer. The purpose of our bodies was to constantly gain light and information from the environment, so that over time our bodies would slowly develop to go with the environment. So if the sun got closer, our bodies would turn darker and we would be able to withstand the radiation. As the earth changes, we change, as above so below. The
So
problem is we got in the way and started tearing our own genetics down with bad food, GMOs and stuff like that. So your body ain't prepared for what the earth is doing.
so oh, okay. So let me ask you then, outside of the 5G,
Mhm.
when we look at these viruses and all the things that's coming into play, and we've been reporting this stuff on these live streams that we've been doing, and we've been seeing the fear in people. People been afraid. People been. What are some of the things? What is? I'm trying to find the right wording. What are some of the things that we can do, or what are some of the things that we're not doing to prevent ourselves, to strengthen ourselves from these so-called viruses that's either made by nature or man-made? Because, and the reason why I'm laying this question out, when I seen the scare come, everybody went to the market and hit the market
Mhm.
and brought foods and brought all these different things. But what is it that black people specifically, being in the environment that we're in, not getting enough sun, what is it that we're doing wrong? So for the people can get edified, because I want to simplify it. So
So I'll
people,
tell you what you're asking me to do. You're asking me to move forward because all of that is answered as I keep going.
okay, okay,
Because it's going to get easier, because I'm right now it's taking longer to get an explanation because you're getting the foundation. The
okay.
foundation is going to repeat as I keep going. And you're going to say, oh shit, well now I got it because you done mentioned it 6 different ways across 5 different problems.
All right, well, let me shut up then.
So that's what's going to happen. No, it's okay. Like, ask the questions, because if I forget a detail now, it's not going to make sense if I bring it up later. So
Okay,
I'm cool with it. Yep.
okay.
So how did I get off my PowerPoint? By hitting. All right, there we go. Earth, baby, universe. I just had to show y'all that. Remember what you're fighting for. Things necessary for a society to thrive. These are things that y'all will never forget through eons of time unless someone makes you forget them for some reason. These things you all know. You need clean water, clean food, clean air, and sunlight. We all agree with that. So let's keep going. Let's get into the problems. I'm gonna rattle through these pretty fast. This is the water you want to live in. This is what you want your vacation spots to look like, right? But that's what you're getting. This is what you want your forests and your soils to look like. But that's what you're getting. That's what your minerals are supposed to come from. And let me give a little explanation of that. Y'all ever wonder how minerals get in our food?
Nope.
When of all everything, and where do minerals come from? Don't they have to dig it up?
Yes.
It's inside the earth. You dig deep enough, you're going to find heavier, denser metals because they had enough time to compress within the rocks and the soil. When a volcano erupts, molten magma comes out. What is molten magma? It's hot rock. It's hot mineral. What's going to happen if that molten lava comes from below the ground and sits on top of the ground too long? It's going to cool down from the air and from the water. If the magma, like you see in the picture, flows into that water, now you got mineralized water. If it flows onto the ground and it cools down, now you got mineralized soil. Okay, so if volcanoes only erupt in certain locations, how does it get around the world? When it starts to cool down, rain, water, wind erodes rock a little bit over time. So it blows with the wind. Now, how does the water move in position? That's the water cycle. I think we got that later on. We'll get to it. But you get the point. Your minerals come out of the earth and onto the ground. We either dig them up or the earth itself is going to spit them out. And it's time for you to go mine for them. Okay. So I think that makes perfect sense. All right. But here's where your minerals are now. This is how you get your minerals. You get them on the stock market. You barely ever buy the real thing unless you get a watch or a chain, right? We wear what we're supposed to actually eat. So herbs, right? I wanted to show a picture of that. I'm showing you the things that are important. This is what you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have herbs, right? But that ain't what you get. This is what you get. So you see how your world, I'm showing you very fast how your world's been turned inside out on you. And if you think, oh, that's, that's this, that, and the third, all you're seeing is what past generations have allowed to happen. And now you're born having to deal with it. So when people are asked, wondering why the answers aren't always so simple, because so many generations before you allowed this to happen over time. So fixing the problem ain't a fast thing. There's answers out there. Like, what can we do right now? What do I do about my cell phone's radiation? Turn it off and put it in a Faraday bag. A Faraday bag is a type of envelope created that if you sit your cell phone in it, the radiation from the cell phone can't come off of it and hit you. So that's one answer for you right there. What else is a drug? Processed sugars. You get addicted to it. You get a little bit, and over time, whether y'all paid attention or not, things like milk, they raise the amount of sugar in it over time. They got a TED Talks on that if you need to see it. They tell you, just look up the TED Talks on sugar. They got a whole wheelbarrow worth of sugar, and they also got next to it the amount of sugar that people ate back in like the 1950s, just to show you the difference. How much you would eat in 1 month versus today, what you'd eat in 1 month. They went from like a cup to a whole damn wheelbarrow. And the people over time think the food still tastes the same. What happens with a drug addict? I need a little bit more to get the same effect as before. So they're going to need more cash, sell more stuff. This is how you go from being rich to poor being on drugs. Can't control yourself. With food, you can't control yourself. It's a drug. Layla Africa said that drugs are anything extracted from its natural state. So even if y'all running around talking about I got clove oil in my house, that is an extraction from the clove seed. That's technically, by definition, a drug. Whether it works or not, it's a drug because it's a concentrated version of the original thing. Meat versus flesh. Now, for my Bible readers out there, this is another way that they flip the truth on you. In the original Bible, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. How do we summarize that? The tree has fruits on it that have seeds in them. It already told you that. And it says, to you it shall be for meat. They changed your definition of meat. What they call meat was actually called flesh. So when you say I'm about to get me some meat or I need some meat up in me, you're actually talking about fruit. That's the original definition of it. They switched it so that you would start looking at meat as flesh. What's the difference between the meat you get in the store and the meat you got now? I want you to look at this picture. Anybody who's ever killed an animal before to actually create food out of it, you'll know that within a matter of minutes to about an hour, that meat is going to turn gray or shades of brown. Now, here's the thing. George, you know the answer to this. What's the mineral inside of blood that gives you energy?
That gives you energy?
Yeah, what's the mineral in your blood? The primary mineral in your blood.
I forgot.
Causes anemia.
That makes you turn red?
Yeah.
Oh shit, man. Hemoglobin, right? I forgot, man.
Iron.
Okay, yeah. You can't ask me today. I'm stupid today.
But that's all right. I'm just checking. If the iron,
I knew that, but you and what's the name mood? I'm stuck on stupid right now.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Answers or no answers, I'm gonna give it to you either way.
Yeah.
So, all right. So iron turns blood red. What color is the meat on the right?
Red.
What color is iron when it rusts?
It's like brown.
What color does meat turn when it starts to rust or go bad?
Brown.
What color does it turn when you cook it before it burns?
Yeah.
So you see what's happening with the food when it actually starts to go bad. It's rusting. The iron is turning into rust. So it's oxidizing. So when you hear oxidative stress or you have to take antioxidants, It's because what's happening in your body? You're rusting on the inside. So you take antioxidants to stop the rusting effect and to clean things up. So now y'all understand when you hear oxidative reactions and oxidation and antioxidants, you now know what it refers to. Now, what happens in the meat process? They go out and they kill something because ain't no animals in the back of most of these stores. So meat's coming from somewhere. So they kill the animal. It starts to turn like the picture on the left. They hit it with carbon monoxide treatments and other kinds of bleaches and stuff, and that carbon monoxide gives it the red color again. That's chemistry. So if we don't study chemistry, you don't know how they're doing that. So the stuff that we say is boring and we don't know, if y'all want to open your own meat plant and start killing people, go kill you a deer or something like that. And when you take it home and the deer turned gray, hit it with some carbon monoxide, bleach it up, clean it, rinse it off, get all the flies and maggots off of it. Because, when you leave meat dead for a moment, maggots and stuff don't come out of nowhere. They come from the dead flesh. All them microbes and microbes, it's liquid inside the dead flesh. And there's air hitting it, turning it into an acid. That acid causes little microbes to be born.
Ew.
So yeah, go ahead, take it home.
The magnets comes out of the meat, out of the flesh.
Worms, maggots, all kinds of stuff comes out of flesh. Now, a lot of people know also that flies can come in and lay eggs and you'll get maggots out of those. And then when they mature, those will become flies. So you got that too. But we taught people a long time ago, you lay a person on a bed for a month. You turn them over after a month. They got what they got. They got bed sores on them. What's inside the bed sores when you zoom into it? Worms. The worms ain't come out of nowhere. They didn't crawl into the bed and get inside of you. Your flesh developed it because it became too acidic for too long. So new microorganisms started to grow because what does the earth do that the people try and call chaos? Things break down and become new life for other things to take part in. When you die as a human, you're supposed to put the body in the ground so that when it decays, it mineralizes the soil so that you can do what? So that when plants go in it, they can grow and they'll take up the minerals from the last person and make their food more mineralized.
So does that mean that when you start to, if you lay a person like that too long and they start to have worms come out, a portion of you is beginning to die?
It's decaying. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Why? Because if it's laying on something, it's not getting what? Oxygen.
Okay.
Wow. So lack of oxygen creates what they call anaerobic species. There's aerobic species, which is what we are, which means you create energy when you exercise because the oxygen you breathe in and the sugar you break down from your liver from when you go to sleep and the foods you eat, the oxygen and the sugar combined causes the reaction that gives you an explosion of energy. So you need oxygen. It's called oxidative respiration. That's an aerobics. You do aerobics. That means oxygen based. Anaerobic species live in environments where there's low to no oxygen. So where there's no oxygen, anything like, certain bacteria and parasites and stuff, if they live in low oxygen environments and you shut a biological organism off from oxygen, those things are going to start to be born.
So let me ask you, I'm laughing at Neptune Goddess. She said, I'm so happy that I went vegan this week. Young girl goes to be vegan this week. But let me ask you, because when you break this down in this manner, I know that our bodies, our biological structure is different from an animal's. Our stomach tract, our digestion tract. Yeah. So when a lion snatches a bull and rips and eats a bull, he doesn't have a stove strapped to his ass.
Exactly.
He runs and he gets the bull and he eats it. But his digestive system is set to break that down, right?
Yep, because it's got a higher acid content in it.
Right. So
stick your hand in a lion's stomach, it'll digest your whole damn hand in about 30 minutes.
Wow. So we're not set up to grab that bull and eat it the same way a lion will. But explain to us what happens when they begin to farm raise these animals, because we're not eating the same. What I'm saying is we eating like in the fabrication. Like we're not hunter gathering our food and eating it right away. What's the process that's happening that's getting us sick when we're eating the meat the same way an animal would?
I'm gonna take you back old school. You are what was the classic line, George? You are what
you eat.
Exactly. So if in the wild, carnivores eat herbivores. So when cows and bulls, they be sitting there eating the grass. So remember, cows big as shit. Bulls big as, these animals are big as shit. They're only eating grass. So people can't say meat is required because the animals that are big that other predators eat are big ass animals that eat grass. But why do they eat the animals who eat the grass? Because the animals with the shorter digestive tracts, the actual carnivores, their digestive tract can't take plants. So they have to get plant nutrition secondary by eating animals that can eat it. Cow got four stomachs. He can eat the grass, spit it back out, eat it again, redigest it, spit it out, eat it again, and keep going through levels of digestion. Why? Because the fibers that the grass is made up of is tougher than some of the veggies we eat. They call it insoluble fiber. So you got five. Look on the back of your bread. You'll see soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber means the gastric juices or the stomach acids you got can break down that fiber to get things out of it and use it to help you pass the food out. But insoluble fiber means it has to sit and something else has to break it down. If it nothing else breaks it down, that's when you see your food coming out in your feces when you go to the bathroom. Nothing's breaking it down. So you eat some plants and your whole damn feces you got in the toilet is still grass. Because you need the proper bacteria. The bacteria from the environment the food came from have enzymes included in it, which help break the food down. So when that carbs always ferment, meats putrefy. That's why people's breath stink over time when they eat foods for too long and their insides start to die. Because meat putrefies and fruits ferment. Y'all know that because we drink, right?
Right.
What is wine? Wine's nothing more than fermented grapes. Vinegar, fermentation. A lot of stuff is just fermentation. Probiotics, fermentation. You want to make your own probiotics? I'm going to give you all a little gem right now. I want you to buy some red cabbage and I want you to get a mason jar. I want you to get the little mason jar that's like the size of a mayonnaise container, right? The jar where you can unscrew the top and the middle part of the top can come off too. Get you one of them jars. Slice up the cabbage, like shred it, like strips of cabbage, shred it up. Pack the shit out of it into that mason jar. As soon as you got it packed as tight as you can, fill it with water next. And as soon as the water reaches the very top, seal it off and sit it on your countertop for a few days. When you open it up after about 3 to 4 days, it's going to have a white foam on the top. That's probiotics.
Oh, shoot.
So you want to make your own? What else do we call that? Sauerkraut. The difference is you made it with the real pigment. Sauerkraut is like a cooked version.
Okay.
So you make it with a real pigment version, you're going to have this vibrant ass colored, cabbage sitting on your cabinet with white foam on top. And when you start eating that, that's going to be your probiotics. Where did I get that from? Look up Dr. John Bergman down in California. He's one of the primary people I listen to. His lectures always end the same way. He gives you a huge explanation. And at the end of it, he always say, what do I want you to do? Eat fruits, veggies, non-GMO sources, prayer, meditation, sunlight, clean water. He's going to say it every time at the end of his lectures.
So let me ask you then. We know that animals eat other animals alive for the most part. And then they may go feed, or if the animal is dead, they're eating it while it's dead right there. Like it's not sitting there for 10 days. And then unless you get the scavengers. But for the most part, we know that animals eat other animals alive.
Right. That's a good question.
What happens to us when we're eating this dead flesh after it's manufactured and we go into the supermarkets to get the meat? What is that doing to our digestive tract?
Well, since we like to cook it and we got to cook it on certain surfaces, those surfaces are also imbuing or putting the chemicals that the surfaces are made of into the meat too. So that's where copper pans and stuff started to be made. There's a lot of different chemicals into these pans and stuff we cook in. And what you're doing is the proteins in the meat are being denatured. Remember, enzymes are proteins too. So the things that's going to help you break that meat down, you're actually denaturing them. So it's going to slow down the process of breaking down the meat in your stomach already. So now just eating a piece of steak, you already up to about 2 to 3 days of breaking it down. And for some people with bad digestion, a whole week. Now imagine if they eating meat 2-3 times a day and it's taking a week to get the first one out of there. You really going to have some issues later on in your life. So now you got a reason to not blame your age. You got to blame everything you did before you became that age. Now, if you're not taught, it's not necessarily your fault. If you're raised in a world where people are teaching you that this is what you do, you eat meat and you season it. And seasoning and cleaning is sanitary measures and protective measures. It ain't got nothing to do with nutrition, so to speak. The minerals, the seasonings you put on have the mineral. Seasoning the meat does not mineralize the meat. It just means the seasonings were mineralized. The meat itself, you're denaturing that. The reason you eat meat alive is to get the actual nutrition that they tell you about in the studies. So if they say meat has proteins and vitamins and all that and enzymes and all that, you're not getting all of that when you cook it. See, a part of advertising food is you can advertise it based on what its normal state is, even after you cook it. So I can say, right, if I say sweetened with stevia plant, and then I give you a whole description on how the stevia plant is and how it's naturally sweet and it's from nature, that doesn't take away the fact that I probably grinded that stevia plant up, cooked it and shaved it down and threw it in the food. I can still advertise it as if the way it came out of the wild. See, this is the ways they can get you when you don't grow your own food in a world where everybody's lying to you. See, there was a time where just going to your local farmer, you was all right. Now you gotta be careful with the farmers you go to because they might work for Monsanto. But we get into that.
let me ask you. Let me ask you though. With let's. I'm gonna break it down in simpler terms again.
Mhm.
For people that may watch this video when they come in, and for people that's watching it now, we got a lot of people that's quarantined in the homes and they're eating ice cream, they're eating steak and lamb, and for the most part, nobody's really eating grapes or juicing or blending strawberries, and nobody's really doing that. So, how does eating these foods that we get from these supermarkets, how does eating these foods actually create an atmosphere for us to for us to acquire the virus even more? And the reason why I'm asking that because I see that a lot of people that was dying already had like high blood pressure, they was diabetic, they was already like sickly, where they had the immune systems wasn't strong. How was
What I'm
these?
gonna do is I'm gonna say, let me rock for a little because we gonna hit immune system and viruses.
Okay,
Everything is in this presentation. You were there, so you know. But in this presentation, it's all in there. And once I hit that point, if it seems like I'm missing something when I finally get there, then ask me about it. But
okay.
it's in here. Like we going through all that.
All right, peace to Sinetta. We got Sinetta in the house,
Is
and
that Black News 102 over there? Because I know he got two channels.
yeah. And for the people, if you can, I know a lot of us are cash strapped right now. Marvin's cash app is in the description box, and it's also in the banner going across. It's $ Marvin Burrow cash app.
Yeah, make sure you
So,
connect the name. It's connected on mine. There's no space. Okay.
yeah, so make sure you support. If you can, make sure if you guys can, make sure you support money sign Marvin Burrow cash app. My
Yeah.
cash app is there too, but if you support anything, support his first. And whatever.
I want to thank you. I want to thank y'all for being here too. Again, while y'all are here, and I want to thank George for letting me use the platform because I really appreciate it. Because being at home like this with the school shut down, my natural thing to do is photography and talk this health stuff. So now that I'm home, I'm talking this health stuff, and he's giving me the platform to give it to people who want it. So I appreciate y'all for those who like the information, want it, and anybody who supports and things like that. So I appreciate you, brother. All right, GMOs, baby, y'all know about it. Here's the thing that doesn't get talked about too much, but it's been mentioned before. But you guys should know about it. How to know in the market if something is GMO or not. A 5-digit code starting with a 9. 5 digits starting with a 9 is organic. Does organic mean healthy? No, because you can have organic meat and organic dairy. Dairy and meat are not healthy, especially for a melanated body. Okay? I want y'all to keep that in mind. Organic has a definition. One definition means it has carbon in it, and anything you can hold in your hand has carbon in it. Carbon binds things. The whole 666, right? We know it to be the blackness of carbon, but carbon is the binder. That's why they're called carbohydrates, because hydrogen and oxygen are not tangible. You can't hold them. Water will slip through your fingers. Once you add that carbon with that water and that oxygen, you got a plant, you got a sugar. That's a crystal, that's a plant. Okay? So there's some science for your ass. Conventional food. When you hear conventional, Inky used to explain it as the cheapest option for that market. But conventional means it could be sprayed with pesticides, or it might be old, like they might have ordered it from a place that kind of had apples sitting around for a while. So the cheapest option, but it usually I don't buy any fruit or a veggie that has thin skin. I generally don't buy it conventional because it means it's sprayed with pesticides, and pesticides are a liquid with chemicals in it, which means the skin and the juice of the plant might have absorbed it. So I'm just being cautious when it comes to that. So Buy organic when you can. If you're asking me, I'd say buy organic leafy greens and veggies. With the fruit, find a local farm because fruit is where a lot of people notice it gets expensive, but they try and apply it to everything. I can go right now to Whole Foods and get a big ass bunch of kale and have a kale salad that will last me and my wife for 5 days. And that kale is only $3. So when people say everything's expensive, they call it whole paycheck. I understand, but everything in there ain't expensive. Stay on the outside where the veggies are. If you go over to that fruit, it's going to get expensive. A bag of apples is going to be like $7. If you go to a local farmer who growing them, he know the real thing don't last too long after you pull it off the tree. He gonna be throwing them shits at you, onions and all. He gonna be like, here, man, damn, $3. I'm gonna give you 10. So get cool with your local farmer who has good practices. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, what was the last? I didn't give you guys the last GMO joint. How do you know it's GMO? It starts with an 8 and it's a 5-digit code, or it just says it on there. This is genetically modified. Some things will say it. Okay. So that's how you know. There is another number that begins with a 3, and that's usually fruit that's been cut up. So if you guys see like a watermelon that's been cut up and put in a package, that's probably going to have a number 3 on it. I just saw that on my own, so I went to look it up. All right. Monsanto, baby, publicly traded American multinational agrochemical, meaning it has to do with the ground and chemicals, and agricultural, growing produce, right? Biotech, having to do with the biology of a thing and the technology behind studying it. It's a corporation. It's headquartered in Creve Coeur, Greater St. Louis, Missouri. Monsanto is the leading producer of genetically engineered seed and Roundup. And I'm going to show you an article on the next page about the Roundup joint. What's the difference between GMO and pesticide sprayed? When you spray with pesticides, they're trying to make you get rid of weeds. Weeds are actually types of herbs that you don't know how to name. But at the same time, I understand the weeds, any herbs will literally push out natural foods you're trying to eat. So don't grow your herbs unless you know what you're doing, of course. Don't grow your herbs next to your, if you got tomatoes and, all kinds of kale and stuff like that, try not to put the herbs in the same planting garden because it's going to probably overrun them. Herbs spread very fast. And you have to be careful when you harvest herbs because if they take a long time to grow and you pull up the whole root, if that herb takes 5 years to mature, you just screwed yourself. So be careful how you guys wildcraft these herbs when you pull them. Just because you see them on the side of the road don't mean I'm getting all this shit. You got to be careful, man. You pull all of that up, you're wondering why you don't see it again for a few years. You just screwed yourself. So be careful when you guys are wildcrafting herbs. Don't just go pulling stuff up. And there you have it. When this came out, this was an extremely important study. I believe I got this from a friend of mine named Freddie when it first came out, and then I heard about it from Inky shortly after. But Monsanto ordered to pay $289 million as jury rules that the weed killer caused the man's cancer. Now, in the trial, if you look up the paperwork from the trial, he followed the instructions to the T. They were able to prove that. They made sure that that Monsanto wasn't hiding any data, and they did. They hid the studies for all these years that their stuff causes cancer. So this is a case where people talking about, I looked at the studies and I saw how they make it and I seen what they was talking about. I did my due diligence. They fucking lied. You could have did all the due diligence in the world back in the 80s and said, it's safe. I checked. I know how to use it. I did it the right way, so it won't make me sick. And you find out they done hid the goddamn data. And why do we get into these problems? Because we think we're advancing technology in the world. The world was already made correct. I'm showing you how it was made correct. So when people ask me questions on how to make technology fit in their life, I'm immediately thrown off because I'm like, you do understand it's already correct. So when you're asking me like, what if I drink the water? How do I drink my water? I got plastic. They say I shouldn't drink it in plastic. So what do? What about glass? I'm going to always say, if you can get that shit right out of a stream, that is the absolute best you're going to get. But if you can't, do the best you can. Now all that other stuff matters. Should I have it in glass? What kind of glass? Spring water, iodized water, high alkalinity water. All that shit is technology. Your body balances its own alkalinity. You're just not supposed to put a poison in it so it can do it easily. All right, let's keep going. So Monsanto got sued because they fucking lied, and they've been around for years. The makeup of Monsanto goes all the way back to a company called Pharmacia. A company and some German engineers from over in the Nazi camps came over to America. They were allowed to come over and start producing shit. DuPont, Bayer, IG Farben, Monsanto, all these companies can come together and break apart as they need to do what they need to do to keep their projects going. They're all a part of the big thing. Pharmakia was the front runner. In the Bible, pharmakia, they said, would destroy the world. The original Greek word was pharmakia. In the new Bibles, all the ones y'all find, you're going to see the word say sorcery. Sorcery in Greek is pharmakia, according to the studies I've done. Maybe somebody did something deeper and found something different, but everything I've searched, shit said that it was pharmakia. So, vaccine or no vaccine? My answer, because I tell people when I warn them about vaccines, they think I'm a part of an anti-vaxxer crew. I am a person who says to understand what you're doing when you vaccinate. A lot of these companies lie to us and call everything safe and they get caught lying. Now I'm showing you vaccine or no vaccine. Since we were born, some of you guys couldn't help it. You wound up getting vaccines. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm one of them. I got shot up when I was young. And as I got older and understood, I just didn't get them anymore. It was no point. I didn't catch the flu, whether I got it or not. The day that I finally took one after 5 years of not having one, and I probably had to be like 17 at this time, I got sick shortly after I got it. I got flu-like symptoms. Here's what makes it worse. So you got vaccines or no vaccines, right? We already know it's a chemically made thing. They're taking a piece of genetic material that we like to call a virus. They're adding preservatives to it and putting it in a solution, and they're bypassing your natural immune system by injecting it straight into your blood. You do know food does not go right into your bloodstream when you eat it unless you do it sublingual, which you need a liquid to do that. Sublingual means below the tongue. So if y'all take certain eyedroppers, oregano oils and clove oils and stuff, be careful which ones you do it with, because some of them will burn your shit something serious. But you can put drops right below your tongue and just let it sit there. Your saliva will build and move it right into your bloodstream. Most foods you can't do that. It's too big. So when you swallow it, your body has to run a check and balance. From your mouth to your ass is not the inside of your body. That's an entire processing and defense system. It's going to turn that food you ate into a liquid or a vapor. And if it's something that belongs in your body, the little villi in your gut lining will pull it into your body and into the bloodstream. When they inject the vaccine straight in your blood, your skin, your breathing system or respiratory system, your digestive system, they bypassed all of it. So if there's a toxin in that concoction, it's going straight into your brain, especially if it includes aluminum, which vaccines have in it. And that causes neurological problems. All right, but I'm getting ahead. Let's move. Pay attention to the wording. It's called the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. And I'm going to go through this one quick, but I tell people to watch the wording. But most are very rare. Some health problems are not, but they use not whenever it pertains to the thing that they want to sell. Vaccines don't do this, but every now and then it might cause something. That shit don't make any sense. It either does or it doesn't. Whether it's a little or a lot, that's fine. Thanks for telling me that to help me evaluate the risk. But at the same time, don't say it doesn't cause something and then say it does. In very rare cases, a vaccine can cause a serious problem. I got it underlined down here at the bottom of the slide. The NCVIP, National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. These 3 paragraphs here, I'm not going to read to you, but they're all situations on why it was created. Because there were cases where they either messed up the concoction, or it might have been something that they were just giving to people and they got caught. But what happened was in the beginning, vaccines, you can't say, hey, to save people, we got to give them vaccines and not be held accountable for negligence. So what was happening is people who were being killed by the viruses or having their family members killed, they were suing the shit out the vaccine companies where they lost so much money, only 1 or 2 of them still existed. And they went to the government and said, look, they're trying to plead their case, right? They're like, we got these vaccines and these vaccines save lives. But here's the thing. They keep suing us. We're going to be sued out of business, and you ain't going to have nothing to protect your people. So they're using the weaknesses of the government's mentality about health and the way they want the world to go to push laws. So what the government do? They created a no-fault solution to compensating people who are injured by vaccines. So even if you go, let's say you're a perfectly healthy person, you get hit with a vaccine, and now your child, one eye is going left, they're acting crazy, they're banging on the walls, they're shaking their head, they look like they got autism and all kinds of crazy stuff. So you go back and be like, yo, your vaccine injured me. What are they going to say? No. Vaccines don't injure people. We have the studies. We've concluded it. The studies say that the vaccines don't cause these problems. Your child has something else going on. So within reason, what they do is you can't have a jury in the court case. They take you back, they perform litigation, they look at the situation and say, okay, we can't say that the vaccines did it, so we're not going to blame the vaccines. But because you had this problem after you got a vaccine, we're going to give you some money. And from what I heard, it's like $250,000 over the lifespan. That's the same as I think you get for child support. So you now have to take care of your child for the rest of your life. They can't live a normal life, and all you get is like a standard amount of money for winning the case. That's a hell of a risk to take for just getting a vaccine that's not a necessity. All because you don't understand your body has a fighting mechanism. The percentage chance, if you have a very healthy body versus that vaccine, there's a percentage chance that that vaccine is going to ruin your healthy body, just as there's a percentage chance that some crazy technology or stupid thing they're doing in the world is going to present a virus that's going to break your immune system and kill you. Percentage is low on both sides. The problem with the vaccine is you're choosing that shit. You're saying, I'm putting this in my body because they scared me to make me think that, man, if I get this virus, it's going to be so bad that I'm going to have this problem. I'm going to be sick as shit. I might pass it to my kids. I'm scared of my kids getting hurt. They got the perfect fear plan to get you to take them. So when you're making the decision not to take them, you have to also understand what you're getting yourself into, because people are waiting to say, so you should have took the fucking vaccine. Now look at you, look at your kids, look at your family. They waiting to point the finger because the popular thing to do is inject yourself with the poison. But is the world crying for the few people who had perfectly healthy children who got injured from the vaccine? Hell no. You got to look for a documentary to find them people, because the world ain't pushing that. That's our dilemma, though. Let's keep going. Big day, big deal. Look this up when you guys get a chance. It's called generally recognized as safe. So, George, when we talk about all those foods and stuff out there, how do we know what to do and not to do? There's a database called GRAS. A lot of the ingredients you see put in your food are generally recognized as safe. They're not deemed safe. The reason they're called general is because there's rules behind eating them. Hey, you know, chances are you're not going to get sick or get diabetes if you only eat one of these a month. But what if it's the one thing they're telling you not to eat a month is a burger, and you love burgers? You're going to break that shit easy. And now if 10 years later you sick as shit, they're going to be like, well, he broke the rules. We told his ass, and under the generally recognized as safe rules, not to eat that much. So that's not our fault. That's their fault. They didn't listen because you didn't go on the website and read them long ass documents on why you shouldn't eat food that you shouldn't be eating anyway. Let's keep going. Antibiotic resistance. What they found out is when an orange peel started to decay, it had antibiotic properties on it. We know oranges were known to be high in vitamin C. So hearing that there's antibiotic properties of that is not much of a surprise. But the person who created it warned people that if you start to give this as a regular antibiotic to people, you're going to wind up with the bacteria are going to start to have resistance. If y'all think viruses are bad, wait till you get a hold of a bacteriophage. The cells that make up your body, your cells are have bacteria in it, and you're a type of bacteria. So because of that, if a bacteriophage gets a hold of you and that shit start killing you off, it's killing the bacteria in your body. That's going to cause some serious damage too. It's like drinking bad water from another town. You get sick as shit. You start getting sepsis and your body starts to basically decay from the inside out. Your kidneys go bad real fast. Your liver go bad real fast. You sick to your stomach. You throwing up. You got a high fever, yellow shit, red shit coming out of your eyes. Your nose is leaking. Your mouth is leaking. You slurring your speech. Yeah. Get a bad bacterial infection. You think viruses are bad. And we helping them shits resist antibiotics. And what is the medical people doing? Okay, if it's resisting by antibiotics, let's see how much we can get it to resist antibiotics to see how strong it can get, just so we can figure out how to solve that problem. So we're going to create a big ass problem that has a chance of getting loose, just so we can say that somebody else might create some bullshit and we need to know how to fight it. They scaring you with that too. They're telling you that war is the reason we need to study these things, because another country is going to probably do it and send that shit over to us and cause a problem. Watch the TV show Containment on Netflix to get my point. Yo, what it do? I see y'all out there. I see the highs and buys. Oh, a little quote from the tobacco company back in the day. The tobacco company realized something a long time ago. This is back when psychology was being studied with Sigmund Freud and all them. They said, yo, we can't compete with the body of fact that's going on. So basically all of us out here who are enlightened and conscious, they understood that. They said we can't compete with it. So what we're going to do is put something out to make another type of people doubt it so that they argue with one another and they never stop buying them. That's psychology. So that means no matter how smart we are, they said put something out there to make people doubt it. So if you say vaccines are bad and they start writing a bunch of articles saying vaccines are good, whether they are or not, you're going to say they're bad. And people you know are going to argue and say, why would they do that? It says right here the vaccines are good and they conducted all the studies. That's called doubt. If they can sow doubt from one person to another, they're going to start saying shit like, let's agree to disagree. And that's going to make y'all both quit and you don't get nowhere. And the status quo continues. So the tobacco company started that form of thought, and they learned that from psychologists like Gustave Le Bon and Sigmund Freud and all of them. Benjamin Rush, this is critical, this is constitutional. Unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, the time will come, pay attention to this is important. The time will come when medicine will organize into an undercover dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men and deny equal privileges to others. The Constitution of the Republic should make a special privilege for medical freedoms as well as religious freedoms. Somebody thought about that long ago. And now we're entering the time where we're seeing the problems come in where they're saying, look, we're in a situation where we're the authority and y'all need to fucking listen. And we don't have to do the wisdom thing, but get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Wisdom don't mean shit if you don't understand what you're talking about. If you always tell somebody you hate when they do something, but they keep doing it anyway, and you keep flipping out at them, you lack understanding, and you're not using wisdom. Because since you understand that person will never stop, you need to live your life in accordance with the fact that that thing will not stop. And you don't respond to it because you understand the response you're going to get from it. You don't tell a stoplight, stop turning red because I hate the color red. You know it's going to turn red, so you go on about your damn day. The human body, it's vibration, which makes it up. Vibration includes electricity, light, magnetism, all the stuff we mentioned earlier. Water absorbs vibrations of light, electricity, magnetism. Minerals create the shape and the function of a thing. Okay? You're made up of that. The digestive system pieces, you're looking at it. The glowing section is the entire digestive system from the esophagus down to the colon. It's not considered the inside of the mouth, the inside of the body, okay? The esophageal sphincter, when you swallow, that area that you swallow that goes into the stomach, that closes off. If you keep burning that with acid food, we call it acid reflux and GERD and all those different things. If you keep burning that sphincter burns open and it leaks out of the digestive tract and it burns your heart, hence heartburn.
Oh, man. Hey,
And
well, I'm glad you said that. Let me just stop you for a second.
mhm,
Because I notice whenever I eat like red sauce or even some of my Indian, when I'm making my beans and I'm using my Indian spices, man, I get heartburn bad, man. It be in my throat and in my chest. But the only thing that make it go away is when I mix the herbs that I showed you guys, the real hot herbs. It destroys
mhm,
it quick. But man, oh man, it's just like terrible,
yep.
terrible. So is those Indian spices like high in acid or something?
Certain I know Indian food they love to use dairy, but some of their Indian spices are concoctions, meaning they're a mixture of multiple spices, which might create an acidic environment. Because
Okay.
remember, pHs can be changed depending on the more things you put into a mixture. That's just the way the general thing kind of works. So, for instance, people with GERD or prolapsed, not a prolapsed colon. What's the thing where your stomach flips inside out? A hernia. People who have that, they're going to tell you, yo, don't be eating no lemons and limes and hot sauce. Lemon and lime ain't exactly unhealthy, but you put that amount of electricity down in an area that's not supposed to be flipped into the stomach, it'll burn the hell out of you. So things change when the health starts to go. You got to start to target things a little different. If you're asking me, what do you do for a disturbed stomach? Something that I believe is safe to use, look for slippery elm powder and things like aloe vera gel. But, I like the slippery elm powder because from the mouth all the way to the anus, it will coat it with mucus. And that takes away inflammation and cools things down. So I like slippery elm powder. All right. You
Is
got the
slippery
stomach.
is slippery and bark the same?
If you want to shave it down and make it yourself, it could be. If you boil it, you'll probably get the same thing. But
Okay.
I use the powder because the powder is nothing but a more. The powder might even be from the leaves. I'll have to check that out. But I've only bought it as a powder. Like I don't really do too much study on herbs yet, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But get powder for now. That's the one I can vouch for. And remember, don't put the powder on top of the water. Put the powder at the bottom of the cup, then pour the water on it. If you do it the other way, it won't mix.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how people waste it. Like they don't know that at first. So your stomach, right? The entire processing area is not the stomach. When you swallow, the first place it hits is the stomach. Your kidney, my bad, your pancreas and your liver and your gallbladder, based on the concoction of things you ate. So if it's water-based stuff, fat-based stuff, protein-based stuff, you're going to have different enzymes that squeeze off into the hydrochloric acid in your stomach to help break it apart. Your gallbladder is what they call an emulsifier, meaning it can separate oil from water and break it up enough for your body to be able to utilize it. It just has to break it down small enough. Your liver, remember they always tell you that you don't really need your gallbladder. Well, you do. There's no such thing as a thing your body has you don't need. Here's what happens. When you eat fats, your kidney starts making gastric juices that would be inside the gallbladder. One of them is called, there's three juices that are made. It's called protease, which breaks down proteins, lipase, which breaks down fats, because fats are called lipids. So you got lipase, you got protease, right? That ashe on the end means that it's an enzyme which speeds up reactions. It can break things down or put things together. It's an enzyme. Okay. So protease or that ashe, or lipase with the ashe, or amylase, because amylose is the sugar and amylase breaks down the sugars. Okay, so amylase breaks down the sugars. I don't care if it's galactose, fructose, all the different stuff. These different constituents utilize the primary three, which are secreted by the liver and the pancreas. So you can understand already if your pancreas goes, why you can't digest food. So don't tear your pancreas up by eating a bunch of bad food. The liver is called the liver because it can live. If you break down the liver, let's say down to about, I think the limit you get is about 37%. If you're above that number, the liver can rebuild itself. It's the only organ that can do that. Other than that, you require the liver to build other things back up. Okay, so lose your liver, lose everything. So drinking kills the liver, which is why people die from overdosing on alcohol, because then there's nothing to back the liver up. Okay, and the liver is huge, goes across the whole thing. So once you get your gallbladder, right, your liver will make a certain amount of juice that will break down fats. When it goes to the gallbladder, it concentrates it. So it allows you to break down fats very fast. You remove the gallbladder, then now something as simple as an avocado could take a full day to digest. Whereas before, a couple hours. So that's why it's important. You can't break down food as fast, which means you can't eat as much food because you can't separate the oil and water. So you can see when you lose things, this really creates a cascade of a problem. Now, what if you already don't have your gallbladder? I'm gonna need you guys to start drinking some prune juice. It helps emulsify it. Okay, so prune juice would be your backup. All right, so let's keep going. So the gastric juices get into the stomach. From the stomach, it moves into the small intestine, then the large intestine, then the colon. In the small intestine and a little bit in the large intestine, this is where minerals get separated out. When your body says, oops, some iron, oops, some B12, oops, some folate, oops, some magnesium, and it starts drawing it into the body as long as the food has been broken down into small enough pieces to do it. Now, where do autoimmune diseases come from? Food in large chunks are also called foreign protein. If you have a compromised gut from putting a lot of acid and bad stuff in there, the little fingers that absorb things in are now gummed up and shedded away. So now bigger pieces of food can get into your body. If they get into your body and they're not broken down, the unbroken down stuff has toxic stuff in it too. So your body's going to get irritated and you're going to have what we call an autoimmune reaction. Okay? You have foreign proteins being absorbed into your body that have not been broken down and gone through the full check and balance to be determined whether you go in. What's an equivalent situation? If y'all are going to a courthouse, when you first walk in, you have to go through the checks and balances. Let me check your bag, sir. Let me scan your body. Let me make sure you're not bringing anything in that doesn't belong here. Okay, that's your equivalency. That's what the whole digestive tract is doing. Now, once it moves in past the long intestine into the colon is going to start squeezing water out. And some of the water gets reabsorbed to keep you hydrated to balance out your kidney. If you're not reabsorbing water because you have a bad colon, you're dumping a lot of water, a lot of diarrhea, or you don't have enough hydration in your system. So you're not going to the bathroom at all. So now you're holding toxins. Your kidney will go bad, your liver will go bad, your digestive tract has stopped working. You stop eliminating toxins, you hold toxins, sepsis sets in. So the same thing I said earlier about drinking bad water out of an ocean, you're doing the same thing when you're not letting waste out of your body. You're building it up and it's killing off your system. Your system slows down, so you're wondering why you used to eat a whole steak and go to the bathroom in 2 days and get rid of the steak, and now it's taking 3 days, 4 days, and a week. Your digestive system's slowing down. You didn't get older. You slowed it down because you've been tearing the system apart from all the damage and stuff you put in it. I'm going to keep repeating that because that's what's happening. Fasting, I know this is a big deal to people. Hey, George, how we doing? How long we been on? Let me say, keep you guys within a reasonable time.
Yeah, we good. We good.
How long does it say? How many minutes?
134. I was gonna stop it about. I was gonna say it about another 30 minutes.
Okay, we doing good.
Yeah.
All right. Fasting. You guys want to know some stuff about fasting? All right, so let's hit it. Cleansing, detoxing, and breaking the fast, or what we call breakfast. When you cleanse, you're putting a lot of hydrogen in your body to flush things out. When you're detoxing, you're removing heavy metals from your tissues. That's the difference. You need certain chemical reactions to get things out of your tissues. One of the hardest way to do it is what Dr. Sebi would do. You fast for so long that your body starts pulling certain things out in order so it can have energy, and eventually the only thing left is the foreign objects. But by then you're usually thin as hell. So that was one way you can do it. The other way is, like, for instance, there's examples like if you juice some cilantro, you can help remove aluminum. Aluminum is a big reason that autism is being caused. So by keeping cilantro in your diet as a regular, you can get rid of aluminum. Do not tell a person to start fasting out of nowhere. I know there's different types of fast, but if you just tell a person go on a fast and they walk away with that, they're going to stop eating. And if they have a very acidic body, meaning they got shit everywhere, like they got bad food still in there, their kidneys are half bad, their liver's half bad, they got GERD and acid reflux, all of that stuff, your body's going to try and deal with it all at once. Why? Because when you stop putting, remember, you have what they call a circadian rhythm, which is the rhythm you set that your body eats and takes time to not eat and digest and chill. When you stop doing that suddenly, your body says, okay, they normally eat at this time to give me more energy, but they ain't coming in. I'm gonna wait a little longer. Now you get a little stomach growl. Stomach growl don't mean you're hungry. It means your body's looking for something that it normally gets, and you're not bringing it in. So if you don't need more food in your body and you feed it just because your stomach growled, that's on you. You're feeding it for nothing. But it's saying, if you don't put food in here, I'm going to start looking for another way of getting energy. How does it do that? Fat. It'll start to eat away at the fat that you got on your body. That's why people start losing weight from the fast. I'm gonna get to why people gain weight in a second. I know people gain weight. I'm gonna get to that. So you go on a fast too fast. Guess what's gonna happen? Your body says, all right, damn it. It's been a day and a half. He ain't gave me no food. We're in a dangerous situation, and he gotta keep living. Because based on what I'm seeing, he's still going out and going to work. He's still driving. He's still sitting in a toxic chemical dump where I got to keep using energy to stop this stuff from killing him. So I need to find a way to get new energy in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for all the shit that don't belong there, and it's gonna start grabbing every goddamn thing. I'm gonna grab that shit causing the herpes and the skin blisters and the cold sores. I'm gonna grab that shit in the gut that they got sitting there all the time. I'm gonna try and get that. I'm gonna pull some of that out of the tissues. I'm gonna pull some of that out of the brain. So now you got a damn headache. You hungry, you got a stomach ache, you got all kinds of blisters and shit showing up on your skin because your body's trying to push toxins out through the skin, the underarms, the ass, the penis, the vagina. It's trying to push stuff out everywhere, and it's giving you pain signals to go with it. So you got a headache, you got pain, you got stomach pains, you're hungry, you want to go to sleep, but you can't because you got pain. All of it's happening too fast. That's a big stress response. So now you're tagging stress onto it. And if you have a weak body and a weak heart, and you elevate stress, blood pressure gonna go up, your heartbeat's gonna go up, and if your heart can't accommodate the beat it needs to stay alive, you'll have a heart attack. So for that reason, don't just go jumping and saying I'm not gonna eat for a long period of time. Slowly work your way in to prep your body for the lower amounts of food it's going to receive. Then your body will chill and do things a little bit at a time. Okay? Break fast, or what we call breakfast, just means it's the first meal you're having after not eating for a long period of time. You can have breakfast at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because you haven't eaten since 8 in the morning. That's all breakfast is. Okay? So now that you guys have a better understanding, cleansing is to clean out things. Use a lot of watery stuff like fruits to do that. Be careful if you have diabetes. You cannot do smoothies and you can't do a whole bunch of fruit trying to clean your body out. I know that's the easy way out because everything's sweet, but no, you can't do that. I'm going to need you to go get you some bitters. You're going to need that bitter food. And if your taste buds can't take it, that's your fault. Too much sugar, salt, and butter will set your taste buds over time to only want sugar, salt, and butter. So the moment you get something bitter, it's extra bitter. That shit tastes like you chewing Tylenol. So that is your punishment to fix your problem. If it takes you 40 years to cause a problem, you can't complain when we say take 4 months to clean your blood out and take a couple more years to fix your bones. I'm gonna need you to do this good dietary regimen for that long. Oh man, that long? Nigga, you had fun for 40 and 50 years. You mad because you gotta give up 2? Give me 2 and you'll gain another 40. Or you can keep doing what you're doing and you might die in the next 5. What you want to do? And just leave them with that. If they seem like they keep doing what they're doing, at least they know the truth. Because they can reject you all they want. Once you get the words out and they hear them, they got to deal with that. So don't worry about fighting a person over not listening to you. They got to deal with it the moment you say it. And some people don't want to hang around you because when they see it, their vision is getting the truth. So they be like, I can't be around him, man, eating like a bird and shit. Eating on fucking plants. You know, people who just, they treat you like shit because you're a vegan. I don't care. So let's keep it rocking. This is self-explanatory, but it gives an explanation of the different vitamins and why you need them, the different minerals and why you need them. This is the list of basics. So you guys need to understand that the basic stuff that you're going to get checked on your blood test determine how your body functions. It's only the basics. It doesn't mean you don't need more minerals, but I'm going to explain these ones to you. Calcium, and there's 6 primaries. Calcium and magnesium makes your body relax and contract. That's why when you have magnesium citrate, you start going to the bathroom and flushing out a lot of shit real bad.
Right away.
Because that's a huge relaxation of your system. So if you're having it, now don't go nuts now. Don't say I'm having issues with my bowels and start injecting a lot of magnesium citrate, because they tell you when you drink that stuff, it's also got other stuff like sucralose in it, the sugar. That means it's going to pull water out of your body to do it. So you're going to dehydrate yourself. A lot of different herbs and detoxes out there. Inky says this all the time. His stuff is hydrating you. A lot of these mixtures and concoctions out here dehydrate you to get the bowel movement to happen. And a bowel movement is not a detox. Yes, wow. Toxins are in your body, but that's not a detox. That's a cleanse. Detoxing pulls things out of tissues, and that takes either specialized herb concoctions or a very long fast. Because remember, I told you earlier, you have to fast long enough so your body says, man, what's left to get rid of? Hey, give me that aluminum and that, all them fucking minerals and shit that don't belong in there. We got too much of. Pull that shit out of there. So it's a couple of ways to do it, but you got to know what you're doing. So calcium and magnesium. Magnesium makes your bowels and your body relax. That's how you're able to make a muscle and relax it. Calcium makes things contract or become rigid. So if you're having an issue with spasms, you might have an issue with calcium to magnesium balance. That's MS, multiple sclerosis. There's going to probably be a calcium and a magnesium issue. Bone issues, because that deals with calcium. So you may have an issue where, because remember, calcium is a plus and it can be a negative when there's too much. So the plus is calcium makes things contract. That's why you can make a muscle, why you can blink, why your involuntary muscles, like your eye's ability to make you close your eye when you take in too much light, when you stare into the sun. That's an automatic reaction from your body. You don't control that. Your heart needs calcium and magnesium to be able to perform the action. Now, let's move to the next 2, sodium and potassium. Your body has what they call a sodium-potassium pump. You can look that up. You throw that off balance, you're going to have kidney issues. You're also going to retain too much water, or you might have a heart palpitation. Where does the palpitation issues come from? Potassium mainly. Potassium helps set the rhythm of the heart. Sodium helps set the balance of electricity in your body. Salt water, right? That's one of the things they use in the IV bag. Sugar for energy, salt for electrolyte balance, potassium to set the rhythm. Okay, coconut water is a good balancer because coconut water is very high in potassium. And don't think bananas win that war, just like oranges don't win the vitamin C war. There's tons of things that give you more vitamin C than oranges, and some plants do it too. Some herbs got a lot of it in
Let
there.
me ask you. Well, let me ask you. Does cayenne pepper give you more vitamin C intake than the orange will?
Depends on the type of orange. There's like 12 types of orange or something like that. I got to go look up the numbers again. Dr.
Okay.
Sebi's list actually tells you which one. I might even have it in this study here. We'll see if we get to it, but I have a food list in the study and it
Okay.
says the particular orange. I don't think it's navel orange, but it could be. But
Okay.
there's certain oranges that are natural, just like you have limes and you have key limes. The key lime is the real lime. So you're going to get more vitamin C out of the real lime, plus you'll have the seeds in it. All right. So, and what was the last two? Um, Phosphorus and chloride. So when I told you about vibrations and light earlier, phosphorus is the light bearing mineral. If you read the Bible quite much, they always talk about lighting the paths of the way to go. For every process that happens in your body, almost 100% of them have phosphorus attached because phosphorus is light. Information in the form of light travels as electricity. When the electricity strikes certain parts of the body to make things happen, they light up. Oxygen puts pressure on phosphorus too, and it lights up. So phosphorus lights the path. Electricity is sending the message. When the path is lit, what needs to be done is known. Okay, that's where phosphorus comes in at. It's the light bearing mineral. It's why your body is lit up in the inside. Okay, you can pick up phosphorus and you can pick up electrical signals using certain tests in the doctor's office, x-rays and MRIs, and depending on what part of the body and what minerals are there, you can use different tests to detect what's going on. Now you got chloride. It said usually consumed as a salt compound like sodium chloride. Please do not be out there using Morton's table salt and Lowry seasoning salt. It's not good salt. It's not. Salt is a mineralized crystal that comes out of the ocean. The ocean is full of minerals, and I explained to you guys in the beginning how the ocean gets its minerals. Volcanoes erupt, the rock and the magma go into the ocean, it cools down, and as things move over time, it erodes the rocks and the minerals separate and disperse. When the land floods, the flooding goes over the land. When the flooding goes over the land, the soil captures some of the mineral. The little microbes in the soil eat some of the things and break them down into acids. The acids are a liquid form of mineral. The plant draws it up through the roots. Now the plant has liquid mineral in it. How do you know? Put a leaf in your hand and start rubbing it. It will become wet. That's bioavailable minerals in liquid form that your body can eat, take in the minerals in the liquid form, and the stuff you dump out is called fiber. So now you have the liquid to help cleanse your system, to give it minerals and amino acids, and the fiber to help get the leftover shit out. You take the fiber out, you got nothing but liquid. So you can't remove waste substances that are heavier. If you have just the fiber and you don't have any liquid to go with it, you get a prolapsed colon because it's like pulling, Inky said, it's like pulling a rag through a pipe and with no water running through it. So it's too much friction. You'll prolapse your colon or flip it inside out. So now you got some serious problems when you do that. Put some things together. Your body also secretes something called bicarbonate. This is one of the ways where you can make acid substances balance the pH back towards alkaline. I told you guys earlier, your body does that on its own. What kind of bicarbonate? Well, if it secretes bicarbonate and you have sodium in your body, what do the two make? Sodium bicarbonate. What is sodium bicarbonate when it's not in the body? Baking soda. This is how people learn to use baking soda to buffer acids in their body. This is why people put a teaspoon of baking soda in water and drink it when they have an acid problem.
I do that. I do that a lot. I would take. What was I taking? I was taking some lemon and baking soda, and I would stir it up and I would drink it. It would make my stomach boil like immediately, but it would make me go to the bathroom too.
Now, here's what's funny. You notice lemon. Now, here's what a lot of people don't realize. Lemons and limes are acid. We know that, right? These are
Yeah.
acid fruits, but they're called alkaline forming. The moment they hit your digestive tract, they change to alkaline. That's a whole nother area of study that people don't know about.
Yeah, it neutralizes it, right?
It's a neutralizer, but it literally turns the pH literally turns alkaline after.
Yeah,
So
I
it
I
helps
didn't,
neutralize things.
I didn't mention the other part I put in there because I knew you was gonna get me. I will put ACV in it with
Yeah, the apple cider vinegar. Actually, I didn't. My take on apple cider vinegar was more based on inkies. That's the way I was giving it to people because I hadn't done the research at the time. Apple cider vinegar is remember, it's a ferment. So it's something your body would naturally do if you put you ever just let it take a bite out of an apple and let it sit? Remember I was talking about the iron earlier, what color it turns when things oxidize? What
Yep.
color does an apple turn when it sits there?
Brown.
All right, what color is ACV?
Brown.
There you go. It's an oxidized substance. That's why it wasn't being recommended by Inky. It's like, yo, you don't. There's other things you can take besides that to get the same effect. Lemons is one of them.
Yeah, because I
Now,
was
when people
basing
say
it.
apple cider vinegar,
Go
you
ahead.
know, I know Layla Africa said as an emergency he would use apple cider vinegar. He would make them soak their foot in it because he was like, it's a sugar ferment. He was like, soak your foot in some sugar and that'll help dry out the hydrogen there, so it'll freeze off the fungus and the bacteria in your foot. That's why he would say soak it in apple cider vinegar.
Dang.
Sugar is a drying agent. It's a dehydrator. I want you to imagine that your body has water in it. And we know how salt and sugar come in crystal form. What happens when you put sugar or salt in water and you stir it up?
Sugar, salt, and water. It turns the water a certain color. I know that.
Have you ever seen sugar or salt come out of your body as a crystal?
No.
That right there tells you that it needs to get water from somewhere to get it out of your body.
Okay.
So if you keep eating too much sugar and too much salt or too much caffeine, which is a concentrated compound, when you concentrate a thing out of its natural state, if I say, I'm gonna go eat me some dried pineapples, are pineapples dry when you buy it? No, it's got a certain amount of water already in it. So if you eat the pineapple dry, the water, in order to turn it from crystal form into liquid form, gotta come from somewhere. You
Right.
think you can just chase it with water. But if the water is cold, your body now has to turn the water from cold to warm. So you adding problems on. People think they solving problems, but little things are stopping it. So you put the dried pineapple in there, then you chase it with cold water. Your body like, fuck, I gotta, warm up this water first, then combine it with the pineapple to hydrate it and then get rid of it.
So it's
And
not.
if you keep
So it's not safe to eat those dry fruits that you get out of the store. You should just get the fruit itself. You're saying.
right, you only eat that kind of stuff in emergency situations and make sure you have the backup. Because obviously, if like right now we were talking about people running to the store and buying things to survive off of, water is a big part of that. You can't say, well, we don't have no fruit, no water around, but this dry fruit will help me survive. You know damn well that ain't true. They know damn well that ain't true. You can't survive off of it. You can survive off whole fruit because God made it in a form where it has the fiber, the liquid, the minerals in the proper order. Where whatever, if you put it in and never chase it with water, it's got everything it needs to get itself out. So it won't take water from you. When you take it out of its natural state, it got to take water from you. And if your body doesn't give certain solid substances and you take in too much water, diarrhea. Now, what's the only thing left on this page? If you mix water with the chloride, what do you have? Hydrochloride, hydrochloric acid. That's how you digest food. So those are your 6 primaries. That's why I showed you those. These other ones are primaries too. I don't have to go through all of them, but we know iron helps you draw in electrons from the food you eat. It pulls the electrons out of it. Same thing with oxygen. When you breathe in, oxygen is made with electrons and protons. So when you breathe in, the electrons are pulled in by the iron to oxygenate the blood, to keep the blood electric. Now, when you're a black person and you're in the sun, you can carry more iron and more electricity. So therefore, you're going to have more mitochondria, more cells to produce more energy. That's why you got fast twitch muscle when you box. Okay. Iodine. This sets the iodine sets the balance over the hormones for your thyroid. It also kind of balances out the electrolyte level in your body too. So your thyroid is something that helps balance out hormones and your what we call the antioxidant system. So without iodine, if your thyroid goes nuts, you're going to have issues with hormones. You're going to have issues with immunity. Okay. Manganese also plays a role in connective tissues and bones, and it's also a part of your antioxidant system. So when you guys get antioxidants, manganese is needed to help that cascade actually happen. The antioxidant system, which I have in here, is actually where people learned about peroxide. Chromium. People lose their eyesight when they have diabetes. Chromium has to do with color. Chroma key, chromium, chromosomes. Chroma, color. When you get diabetes, you're pulling a lot of the chromium out of your pancreas. When you run out of it, it gets it from the next best place, which is your eyes. So when you have diabetes, that's how you lose vision. So when people get their vision back, it's because the chromium levels go back up. Of course, if you do anything for too long, ain't enough stuff in hell that's gonna bring your vision back. You stuck because you damaged it, and the pieces that will fix it got damaged too. So you gotta be careful with how you can't keep saying I'm gonna wait longer and longer to get things done. Okay.
And real quick in the chat room, the link to Marvin's channel is right there. Marvin Burrow, hit that link and make sure you guys are subscribing to his channel. We got 52 people watching, so I expect when I look on there, I expect to see him go from 61 subscribers up to 100 and something subscribers. So
Yeah, keep
everybody hit
pushing.
that link right now. You know, as we pause for a second, everybody hit that link right now and subscribe to Brother Marvin's channel.
Thanks a lot.
All right, go ahead, bro.
All
Finish.
right, copper. I'm skipping fluoride because we already know about fluoride too much from toothpaste. Fluoridated toothpaste does the opposite of what it tells you it does here. Fluoride keeping strong bones and teeth, but they fluoridate every damn thing. So they overdo it and then you wind up destroying your teeth. Okay? Copper, number one conductor of electricity for human biology. We are called copper colored people as people with melanin, correct? So if we're called copper colored people, guess what? We have to eat food because a part of what we get is amino acids. One of the amino acids has a amino acid called tyrosine. You have to combine tyrosine with copper and go through a cascade of events to get melanin. If you don't have proper copper levels, if you're not eating food with tyrosine in it, like purple grapes with seeds in it, you're not going to be able to make melanin. And people who lack copper and tyrosine and eat a lot of sulfur-based food instead of selenium-based food, which is down here, right? You're going to start to notice white spots appear on your skin. So if anybody's seeing their skin, we're not talking about people whose skin lighten up. When you stop getting UVA rays from the sun in the wintertime, your skin will get lighter. If you wanted to get darker, again, just get some UVA rays from the sun. And that's year round as long as the sun shows up. UVB is what makes the vitamin D so people have strong bones and don't get things like rickets. Okay, so understand the difference between the UVs. UVC is a very strong one. It's like a strong version of both, but you got to be high in the mountains to really get it. All right, selenium, important for reproduction. Selenium is on the head of sperm. If you don't have selenium, your sperm count's going to go down. Thyroid gland function. Thyroid and iodine and selenium are needed to make your thyroid function correctly. If you're missing iodine, you'll start to get what they call a goiter. It looks like a big ass tire starting to form around your neck. It's a big bump, giant bump too. You need it for DNA production. You need it to protect from free radical damage because selenium and cysteine, which is another amino acid, make glutathione when you put them together. So without cysteine and without selenium, you can't make glutathione, which is a free radical scavenger, meaning it spends its time looking for free radicals. In the future, in 2024, as we get closer, they're making nanoglutathione. That's one of the things that they're working on the nano side.
Wow, some fake
Yep.
ass glutathione. Hey,
Yep.
real quick, what's some of the foods that got us high in selenium that people can eat?
Nothing beats Brazil nuts. I hear that wheatgrass is up there.
Okay.
I haven't checked into that, but a lot of people say don't eat wheatgrass, get chlorophyll instead, because wheatgrass is like the white people's form of nutrition. And it's a grass, so your body doesn't digest grass. But I can tell y'all this. When I had the diabetes and the high blood pressure, before I knew all this, that wheatgrass was a staple in my juices. I do not like it straight up.
Hey,
I hate the taste straight up.
real quick, we got a super chat question. I know you can see it.
During the health crisis, farmer markets are closed. What foods can we buy at the supermarket that's healthy and less modified? You have to look for the local section in your supermarket. Farmers have not stopped farming. They just stopped selling stuff to protect themselves. This is one of the cases where a preventative measure is you're supposed to make connections with farmers before these problems happen. So in your case, where you are, it may be a problem with, for now, just based on what you're saying, as far as getting a farmer connection, it may be too little too late for this situation. Because if a farmer's not open and you don't have contacts with one, you only got two options. You got to look for the local stuff that they can't eat that they're putting in the stores, or you got to grow it yourself. And growing ain't exactly an immediate thing. You had to already be preparing that in advance. That's what all the past documentaries and stuff was happening for. So that's why I said this lecture is a catch-up lecture, because I've been talking about this stuff over 7 years. It's just that I'm now in front of crowds where people are starting to notice me. It took that long. So you can imagine if I'm barely on YouTube because there's not enough crowd following me. I'm mainly on Facebook. On both platforms, I'm talking to less than 100 people without help from people who are in front of more people. So there's tons of information out here from people if you can find us. Y'all just happen to have George to bring me in front of you. And without George, I wouldn't be in front of more people, but I still be out there talking my shit. Like, you ain't gonna stop me from talking my shit. George
Yeah,
know that because he see me in the gym. Can't stop the boy from talking his shit. It's just that if you put me in front of people, I'm gonna talk my shit.
so you're saying so the supermarkets really it really can't help us because most of the food there is modified. You're saying.
You gotta, if you don't have a farmer around you and you don't grow your own food, your next best thing is to either forage and see what's actually out in your parks and your atmosphere, but chances are you're not going to trust that over a supermarket. So you got to get in the supermarket and grab what you can grab. But this is a survival thing, so this is where you're going to find it a lot in survival places where it's very cold and you can't grow food. That's the reason that canned foods and processed foods and meats exist. It was meant to get you through a period of time. This is such a time. Does that mean go eat meat? We're not in that dire straits. Like, this ain't no apocalyptic situation. It's just different. So it requires a little bit of survival. You're getting a taste of what real survival is like. What if they didn't have water in the market? Do you have something like a life straw or one of those cups that pump the water and purify it? Can you do it on your own? Guess what you need? You need a bucket, you need sand, you need something to poke holes in it, and you need real charcoal. You put those inside of a bucket and poke holes in the bottom, and then you run water through it. That'll filter out all the hard materials. Now you get a 100% cotton t shirt. You run the water through that too. That'll filter out 99% of the smaller impurities. But it's got to be a 100% cotton shirt. You have to go through both filters. Now, if you think I'm playing, look up your Brita filter. I guarantee you're going to see it's a carbon based filter that you use in it.
Let me see. Hold on. Hold on. We got another question real quick. Oh shoot.
Well, we got any recommendations on safely intermittent fasting? You depends on how long the intermittent fasting is. If you're starting off and you just want to do a quick one, stop eating at this is what I do. Stop eating at 7 or 8 o'clock. Don't start eating again until about 12 or 1. That's a good start for intermittent fasting. And don't start with a heavy meal. Start with a liquid meal. Wake up in the morning, drink you some water, get your exercise going, take your shower, and wait about an hour. As soon as it gets close to 12 or 1, get you some tea or get you some juice. Some good, healthy fruit juice. Don't go nuts on the fruit. Get some greens in there. Get some bitter herbs or something like that. Now, around 3, 4 o'clock, get you a heavier meal. And then close to bedtime, get you a lighter meal. But the lighter meal, you want it to be more heavy in greens and not fruit because fruit introduces energy. Greens help balance you out. So fruit for cleansing, veggies and green leafy veggies for balancing because they're green. They're going to be higher in magnesium.
Hey, you see this one here from
All right.
you
My
get
aunt is listening as well. Oh, you mean the one? Okay, yeah, there it is. My aunt is listening as well and wants to know if you're familiar with parathyroid glands sending messages to cells and bodies, release calcium plus in blood. Okay, so they got something called calcitonin. That's one of the hormones. Remember, we said hormones are instructions. So since you got me on it, in your brain, there's the hypothalamus and the pituitary. They secrete things like ACTH and luteinizing hormone and stuff like that. When you have something going on in your environment that instructions need to be created for, it doesn't mean you create these instructions. They're hormones. You need cholesterol in your body to even make them. That's why you can't have low cholesterol. So your hypothalamus and pituitary, you get some type of impression of the environment based on what you're doing with your senses. Touching, tasting, feeling, emotionally, all that stuff. When the hypothalamus gets wind, it taps the pituitary and tells it to start a cascade of events, stress type events. So the pituitary taps your kidney, the top of your kidney called the adrenal gland. That's where the cortisol and the stress hormones are secreted to tell your body that something's going on and to help create hormones to fix the problem. From there, thyroid is going to regulate it. If it requires some sort of calcium channel ions, which happens in the parathyroid gland, one of the hormones is called calcitonin. It makes sure your calcium levels are correct. Everything works in a balanced order. At the very beginning of the lecture, I showed you duality, yin and yang, the scales of Ma'at, or the scales of Libra, the balance of scales, and I showed you the rod of Asclepius, which is the twin snakes. I'm sorry, I forget the staff of You got the rod of Asclepius and the caduceus staff. Caduceus staff is two snakes winding up around the pole. It expresses commerce. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Your body does that. Calcitonin is one of them. You know how you got insulin? Well, you got glucagon. Insulin says, yo, it's a lot of sugar. I need you to burn it up. So your body sends an instruction called insulin that says, burn up the sugar. If there's not enough sugar and you're low on energy, your body secretes glucagon, which is an instruction that says, I need you to break down glycogen in the liver to bring sugar into the bloodstream for burning. One says burn sugar, one says create sugar. One says burn energy, one says create energy. That's talking science and then talking about it in real life circumstances. Okay?
That's how she cleaned it up.
Yeah, because you got thymus, thyroid, and parathyroid. That's a part of regulation of the hormone system and certain channels in your body. So when you hear the Ca or the calcium, it's like calcium plus 2 channel. You have something called calcium ion channels in your body. They're also in your eye. It's a part of regulating the signals that happen in your body to switch things on and off. So if you have a hormone cascade and instructions, a part of those instructions is switching things on and off when it's time to do it. With medication, you're helping to switch off hormones. That's where ACE inhibitor came from, because ACE is an enzyme and it's also a hormone. It's an instruction telling the body to do this and turn it into that. You see what I mean? So these things tend to cross, but the principles are the same. It's balance. When you ask somebody, how does your body cause this to happen? What about my magnesium levels? It balances with calcium. My eye is in calcium and magnesium. My eye is in potassium and sodium, but sodium, potassium pump. You see what I mean? It's always a balance. The principles I told you in the beginning still apply now. Fasting, there's only so long you can go without eating before that shit snap back in the other direction and hurt you. So you need to slow walk it to prepare your body for the period of time that you're going to have the problem. What about getting sun? Don't go walking out. If you ain't been in the sun in 3 years or a long period of time, don't go out in the sun because your vitamin D levels are low and think you're going to sit your ass out there for 2, 3, 4, and 5 hours. Slow walk it. Go out for 15 minutes one day, 30 minutes the second, an hour the third, chill at an hour for a while, then to 2 hours after about a month. Then do 3. The darker your skin, the longer you got to carry it. And doctors can help you with your numbers, but be careful with doctors because the entire system was set up off Caucasians. So what they say they need, the correct level for you is usually higher because you got denser bone, darker skin, which is it's more materials in the universe unified in a body, which causes all the pigments from your foods, minerals, light you get from the environment to turn black, which is what your skin is doing when it's turning brown. It's unifying all the colors from everything. Retinols from orange food, lycopene coming from red foods, zeaxanthins and things like that coming from purple foods. You're unifying the colors from the sun and from the food and from the atmosphere, all the vibrations to turn yourself darker because you're unifying information in your body.
Let's get to the let's try to get to the food chart before we have to go.
If I have one, like I got to check. I can back off of this and see where we at and show you what's left.
Yeah.
You want to see what's left?
No, you know what you're doing.
Okay, because I was going to say, you guys can see it. Hold on, this didn't pull me all the way back, did it? Yeah, I know, we got to get back to where we was.
Yeah, get back to where we was. So that way...
we are immunity. I like to start immunity with this slide.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because we got about 20 minutes, 25
Okay.
minutes.
All right, I'll rock with y'all with that. Am I my brother's keeper? Why do I have this slide here? I want you to ingrain this picture in your mind, New Jack City, because of this system. Enki has been trying to explain the system to people for a very long time. I knew about it a long time ago. You notice in the 3 circles I got on the right side, George, what's the middle circle say?
Peroxide.
What's the top circle say?
The oxygen.
What's the bottom circle?
Water.
So the result of having an oxidized system is to turn it into what?
Oxygen, peroxide, water.
Yeah, if you have a free radical in your body, it's too much oxygen. In order to get to water, you have to go through a cascade of events in your body, which includes peroxide. So you go from dioxygen, which is an oxidation of your system, like watching that apple turn brown, right? You hit it with some peroxide, and eventually it breaks down with the enzymes you have in your body. Now, here's the thing. I'm not showing you all the enzymes, but I do say some things in this little paragraph. This is a serious defense system in your body. I recommend you search and read up on it. It's a process of stopping free radicals and stress from causing damage in your body. It's neutralized by this system because everything is my neutralized is in the middle. The pH scale goes from 1 to 14. You live in the middle. Your body creates that balance. You just have to give it the materials to keep the balance going and don't keep doing dumb shit to push it too far in one direction and kill it. Too alkaline will kill you. Too acid will kill you. So it says here the minerals, selenium, manganese, zinc, iodine, iron, and copper are necessary for it to function properly. Now, it doesn't say it here, but here's why. Because between each of these steps I'm showing you, there's a mineral involved in moving from one to the other. So if it doesn't exist, the free radical keeps bouncing and the inside of your body is getting tore the hell up. So this is why you need glutathione and all these different minerals, because the minerals make mechanisms of action called enzymes, which is a type of protein, to keep things moving. And water makes the machinery happen. So if the machine has to move something from here to there or change something from here to there, you need to add water into the protein function to make it move. Keep going. Oh, how this works is keep one molecule means the NRF molecule is a nuclear reaction factor. The keep one molecule, it's like Kelch-like protein. It's a whole lot of shit. It's too much for y'all right now. But basically, the keep one molecule is like you holding your ball back from getting into a fight. Your ball is constantly coming back to you like, who the fuck won it? And you keep holding him back. Nigga, ain't nobody around here. There's no free radicals around is what's being said. Nigga, chill. Go back in the house. So the keep one molecule tells NRF, tells somebody like, yo, degrade this fucking NRF2. He looking for smoke and it ain't none. And that keeps happening. It keeps coming back and keeps looking for smoke and there is none. But when them free radicals show up, your boy is like, look, I know you've been looking for smoke and that shit is out there. So I need you to go deal with that so you don't hold your ball back no more. That's why we call it keep one. Am I my brother's keeper? I keep you back from doing shit when you don't need to. But when it's time, they let the NRF2 factor go. It goes into the center of the cell and it rings a bell that says, niggas out here need work. They bouncing around, causing problems. I think it's a dude who just need a girl or some shit out here. So go get this nigga a girl.
So you saying this is what happens when you put things in your body that your body doesn't agree with. These are the things that fights it off.
Exactly. The NRF2 factor starts the cascade of the antioxidant reaction. If you have all the minerals I talked about in your body, then now you have the ability to make the system function. So when we're telling you to take oregano oil and other antioxidant type foods like grape juice, we're telling you that because it's giving you minerals and things that will help that system run. Your food has electricity in it. What a free radical really is in an atom, there's a proton and an electron. Electrons power you up. Protons have to pair up with them when they're not doing work. The proton starts bouncing around looking for an electron to pair up with. When you put electrical foods in your body, it has plenty of electrons to donate. It pairs up with the proton and neutralizes his ass. So he stops bouncing around looking for his mate. When you have the antioxidant system, you're helping to do that because when it's bringing the proton and the electron back together, it's helping to create water. Water makes proteins and things react in your body and keeps things hydrated. That's how the system works all together. All right. And cells, kind of gave you guys plenty of that. I may have explained this on your show before. If you guys haven't seen it, you can go to my page and look at the last 2 streams I did where I explained how this works. But basically, you got chromosomes, which is the X or Y chromosome. It's like a wound up ball of yarn. If you pull a piece of the yarn and start pulling it away from the full ball of yarn, if you look at it really close, it's going to have I'm using an example here, but I want you to imagine a piece of yarn wrapped around 8 marbles shaped in a square. So the marbles are stacked to kind of make a square, and the yarn is wrapped around it. Those are called what they call it, nucleosomes, which are bodies of protein that package up DNA. So I like to call them the library because they're called histones. So they hold the history. If I look even closer to the ball of yarn and I untwist it, it's a twisting ladder. The ladder is made up of pairs that make up the rungs of a ladder you would climb. Those pairs are called base pairs. If you tear the ladder in half and lay it down, you go from DNA to RNA because the twisting ladder is DNA. That's what the whole chromosome is made up of. DNA packaged together in the shape of an X or a Y. Okay? So when you unravel it, you see the twisting ladder.
You cut the latter in half and lay it down. Now you have RNA. RNA is what the virus, coronavirus, is carrying and putting in your body. It's a set of instructions. What happens after RNA? The RNA is read as codes in the letters A, T, C, and G. The codes are translated. You send the message mRNA. You translate it tRNA. Ribosomes take the translation and turn the ATCG into a string of amino acids. You take a metal, you put it inside the amino acids, you fold it into a shape, now you have a protein. You hit the protein with water to create the reactions that are necessary to make the body move. How do you power it up? Electric food and sunlight, vibrations, frequency, things that make up magnetism. See how it's all connecting? This is where DNA goes into how your body moves. You have voluntary movement over certain things, but your body does the rest of the things because as above, so below. You move arms and legs, proteins move arms and legs. You move things around the environment, like you might take a shopping bag, put it in the car. The body does that. You drive your car on a highway. We call that the bloodstream because we can take the packages, put them in a car. Those are called platelets in your bloodstream. And we can drive them shits to where they need to be and unload the packages of materials or minerals to help tear down things or build things up that need fixing. Now y'all seeing this stuff come together. Horizontal gene transfer, this just means when you're in close proximity to animals and stuff like that, they shed like you do. Your skin sheds, little hairs and fibers come out of your body. You breathe little gases and particles. That has little proteins in it that we like to call viruses or DNA. You're exchanging DNA all the time. That's how you know what's going on in your environment, and your body can shape its internal structure to fight against it. But when someone is taking the DNA and conducting experiments on it and making it stronger, that means it's like 5 generations ahead of where your body was. So that RNA, that virus comes into your body. A virus is dead foreign protein with instructions, right? But it's generations ahead of how your body works. So when you breathe it in, your body's like, whoa, shit, that's some serious instruction there that we got to be able to deal with. So that causes all kinds of problems to happen within your body because your body's trying to express a gene that says, yo, in this type of environment, he's breathing a lot of smoke. So start to shift his internal structure to build up his lungs so we can resist that smoke. But the DNA that gets expressed has a tag of RNA on it that's viral, meaning it's not supposed to be in the code. George, if I told you, this is how you clean a car. Now take these instructions and take them to your neighbors. And I accidentally put in there to use 1,000 grit sandpaper on the car. And you pass them instructions to the next boy. He gonna buff and destroy the paint on that car. And he gonna pass the instructions too. Like, yeah, that's what they say you do. So I guess it's supposed to look like that. And what's happening with coronavirus is people are so sick that that same scenario I gave you, the instructions made it all around the world before your body woke up and said something was wrong. That's what happens when a sick body gets coronavirus. If you have a strong body, the moment you hand me those instructions, I immediately say, the fuck is this? And I hand it back to you. I'm not even going to allow it to get across the board.
Right. The body. So basically what that means is the body already knows the body's already equipped to fight it off. It doesn't have, like we put it in layman's terms. Let me say this. Thank you, Nicole Michelle TV, for the $20 super chat. Basically what you're saying is, if you're eating the right foods instead of eating the foods from these supermarkets, your body will be more equipped to fight the viruses because you're getting sick and there's a virus. You're having a problem breathing. You have mucus in your nose and your lungs and everything else. If you have the proper minerals and the proper fruit and stuff intake, the body's more equipped to fight it off. So when it sees it, it'll put its hand. Basically, when it's approaching, you already got your hands up, ready to go.
But here's the funny thing. There's something before that, even though, yes, that's all correct. Here's the thing that comes right before it. You notice little children ain't getting it like that. Now, that's for many reasons. We protect the children. We don't even let them go out.
I know.
Okay. So they didn't have time to destroy their body yet. They haven't been eating chicken and all kinds of shit and grease and dairy and all that to clog up their system and destroy anything. So anything that approaches their body, instantly it's going to respond as fast as it's supposed to. When you have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of doing the wrong thing and you haven't repaired that, giving your body rest, relaxation, fed it all the minerals so it can tear out the bad stuff, build up the good stuff. Think about real estate when you're flipping houses. This house looks like shit, but I know what it could look like. Go buy me some materials. Home Depot, Lowe's. Now I got the materials. Tear down the bed, throw it out in the trash. That's what you call detoxing and cleansing. I'm throwing the trash out. Now I got a shell, but everything ain't exactly as fixed up as it should be. But the trash is out. So now, Home Depot, Lowe's, send me in the materials, new sheetrock, brand new carpet on the floors, tile up the bathroom. Now the house is done. I'm not no. So basically, my channels, you're in different stages when you contract the coronavirus. If you're in tip-top shape, that means when the problem comes in, I see his ass and I'm gonna deal with him as soon as possible. Because let's say the coronavirus enters through your nose and the nearest white blood cell is at your arm. That white blood cell needs to know there's no traffic jam on the way there. But if you got gunk and grease and clogged arteries, that motherfucker like the fuck out my way. Somebody try and get in and I'm trying to get his ass. Meanwhile, he all the way up there in your nose passage, tearing shit up.
So you got the Klondike bar in there. You got a couple days ago, lamb chop.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, you got Kool-Aid in there because you remember you sitting home, so you're not working at all. So you got the Hershey's with almonds on the left. You got the
now remember this. Inky don't like white blood cells. They don't belong in there because you find out in equatorial climates, there's far less white blood cells in the body than cold climates because there's less things you got to deal with. You have a highly electric body in a warm climate. So the electric and oxygenated environment itself, these things can't live in. So when they come in, they're like, oh shit, fuck, I can't live in. They don't even want no parts. That's a healthy body in a solar climate. When you're not in a solar climate, you're in a polar climate, there's a higher livability in those climates. So the viruses get in like, nice little balance in this joint. So they chill out for a little bit. But the white blood cells, the scavengers, they hungry. They feel like food won't always run out. So the only reason they're in you is because it's like, it's a quid pro quo. It's like politics. Yo, you feeding me because you have this body. So I'm gonna hang out and defend it because you feeding me. So your white blood cells ain't looking to eat you and tear you down. But guess what? Stop putting food in and putting bad things in. White blood cells will go rogue on you because that's what happens when you get torn down from AIDS. They go rogue and autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases, there's two schools of thought. One is you ain't feeding them correctly or something's missing, so they start tearing your ass up just to have something to eat. My point of view was like Layla Africa's. It's not that they're eating your body, and I need to do more research on it, but that's just what I believe. They're not eating your body because they want to tear you up. The bad things that got in your body are now in channels they don't belong in. And white blood cells have the ability to slide in places that other things can't go.
You just start eats everything.
Right. Rheumatism means that the waste is in your muscle. Arthritis, bone arthritis means it's in your bone. So normally the pathogens are kind of in tissues and in your bloodstream. If they reach bone and in your synovial joints, like your knees and your elbows or your fingers, they normally don't have things there. So when those things start to go, we call it rheumatoid arthritis, which means it's eating a channel that things don't normally go in. Remember, things move around in the bloodstream. That's muscle and bone. Why is it in there? Lupus, like it's in the bone marrow. It's in the bone marrow and stuff. So the white blood cells, when they say the white blood cells or your body is attacking you, your white blood cells are eating things that the problem is inside of. So if it's in your muscle, the white blood cells are eating the muscle that have shit inside of it because it's looking for the food, and the food has torn apart your muscle. So it's eating all of it because you don't want any of that to stay in there. So when the white blood cells no longer have food because you stop feeding the problem, eventually the white blood cells go away. Your body has inflammation in the area of the damage because the friction and the heat is going to cause stiffness. Why is it becoming stiff? So that it can scab up and repair.
Hey, let me ask you. Finish your point, then I'm gonna ask you a question.
Oh, I was just gonna say, your body uses inflammation to repair problems. In the coronavirus, it's an over response. So the inflammation response is clogging up your lung passageways. That's why people don't pass away from the virus itself. Although you could kind of talk about that different ways to make it seem like the virus is the reason it's even happening. I get it. But the inflammation response is so high at one time that you have a lot of blockage in your lung, and that's what's causing you to die.
Hey, Great Black Shark, get that hater out the chat for me, man. Who is a real life, man? Shut the F up, Negro. You hide his ass. Get him out of here. Whenever we got something good going on, you always get the haters in.
That's actually pretty funny. What would they say shut the fuck up about?
No, but that means whenever you're doing something right, that's when the haters come in. Let me ask you. I heard. I'm gonna ask this one last question, then we'll fill some questions from the audience.
Okay.
For the next 125.
Keep talking. You're going to just see some things flip so people can see, but
Yeah,
just keep talking.
yeah. I heard Inky say that a child. The reason why a lot of times children don't get certain diseases, viruses, a certain way that adults do, because children are dirty.
That's
Like
called that's a learning process.
yeah,
So, for instance, remember we were talking about horizontal gene transfer. I said if you stay near your people, remember I said a virus is generations ahead, but the people around you and the environment around you, that's your generation, meaning it's feeding off of each other's info. When children are out there, what you call it? What's the black dude who we know very well for science that be on all the TV shows and stuff?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He has a joint that he was doing where he was like, watch, he was like, this mother, he was like, I saw this mother and her child was walking towards this puddle. And he was like, watch, he was like, the mother's going to stop the child from jumping in the puddle of mud water. And she did. Get away from that puddle of mud water. See, the child's curiosity was piqued. The child wants to know how nature works. We put things in nature that normally don't belong there, but our body's process as a child is still there. So your child says, they pick up what we call water and they want to take a sip. You ain't gonna have no problem with that unless the water's dirty. You're gonna let them drink the water. But in nature, is a bottle of bleach in nature? No. But the child gonna see it as something that is supposed to be there. So if they see bleach sitting around with the cap off, they seen you drinking out of a cup or a jug, they gonna copy it with the bleach jug. But if the bleach was never around, child can't do that. What's around? Dirt, plants, water, soil, all the regular things in nature. So now a child, instead of picking up the toys you bought him and throwing your toys against the wall, he's picking up rocks and minerals and throwing that shit against the wall. If a child does that long enough, the right reaction will happen and make them curious. How do I know that? Look up quartz crystal, dolomite, or limestone. With quartz crystal, turn all the lights off in your house, make it real dark. You have to find one that's cut like a really nice crystal. Throw that shit as hard as you can at the wall. I guarantee you'll see a spark of light. If you don't even want to do that, go on YouTube right now and say quartz crystal lights up or glows. You're going to see one dude who runs a drill through it. Now remember, it's got to be cut correctly so that the atoms fall in line so that this happens, which I think is silicon dioxide and oxygen. When they drill into that shit, over time, you see that shit start to glow consistently. The problem is, as a person who's a scientist, you're going to say, how do I keep that shit doing that? Now you're dealing with environment and science, not the other shit that you're being taught. See, children will pick up soil and dirt. They try and, they stab that shit against their tongue. They do funny shit the way they eat stuff. They'll like slap it against their tongue. Mm-hmm. And if they don't like it, they'll be like, you'll see them doing a thing where they're trying to wipe it off and spit it out. Now, mothers usually help them. Like, ew, why are you eating the dirt? And they'll help them wipe it out. But the moment that stuff touched their tongue, the little bacteria and stuff in the environment that's in that stuff has now become a part. That child's genetics from his saliva is going to start studying it and understand what comes out of that soil. That's a mode of communication. What about when the child goes to the bathroom? If you make that child pee in the ground, in the soil that you're growing food in, or take a smash and you bury that shit in the soil, and the child is not eating toxic food, that's an important part in that. If you're not eating toxic food, then the feces won't smell like methane gas. The cows are the reason the ozone layer was breaking up. All the farting and crap from all the methane gas type foods and shit that you see carnivores and different things eating, that's methane. Methane breaks up the ozone layer. When there's too much of it, from them producing cows with RBGST and all kinds of hormone shit.
Oh, so then that must be my fault then, because I'll be tearing it up. So I must be responsible for
anybody who eats meat or highly nitrogenated food that they shouldn't be eating, when you pass gas is nothing but another form of liquid. Remember, liquid comes in multiple forms: gas, solid, liquid, plasma. If you electrify it, that means it's a smart liquid. They call it plasma. But if you take water and you heat it up, the water's still there. It's just in a gas form where it can float. So when people pass gas, what you're smelling, fumes that are liquid, but in a gaseous form, so you can't feel it and it doesn't make anything wet.
Some bad fumes, man. All right, let's do this. Let's do this real quick. Anybody in the chat room, and let's try to give it to them. Let's try to get at least 4 or 5 in 10 minutes. So let's try to give it to them in short answers. Put some questions in the chat. Some questions that you might have for Brother Marvin. Put some questions in the chat real quick, and I'll try to get to them. I'll highlight them and get to them. Any questions that you guys may have, write them in the chat right now.
What you got for me? What you got? Like I said, I told y'all this joint was gonna be it was gonna be heavy. Like it was gonna be a lot of information. So if you can imagine everything I gave y'all, even fielding the questions in between and taking time to explain things, I had to get all of this out in 2 hours and 10 minutes at my event before Inky went. So I got so there was actually like 15 to 30 more slides in this, and I actually got through all of it in the event, except for one story I told people I wanted to tell at the very end, which had to do
It's,
with the sex part.
it says,
So
hold on. We can. I mean, we can always come back. We can come back in a couple of days and do a part two.
yeah,
Couple.
or I could just we can do others. We can just focus on certain subjects, and I can field questions over time. We can do that too.
There you go. There go a question for you right there.
They silly, just fart.
Yeah, it's what just fart.
What can we do to help congenital heart failure and water in the lungs and cough? So, if you have water in the lungs and cough, the cough generally means that you have toxins inside the lung area or debris. Sometimes our lungs have something called I believe they're called cilia in the lungs. But you got they're like these little finger-like projections, and every time you cough, they push the mucus that's binded upward. So coughing and sneezing, you never want to take a decongestant. That's number one, because what you're doing is you're stopping the response that causes the stuff to come up and out. Your body makes mucus through something called goblet cells. Goblet cells secrete mucin. You drink the water, the mucin and the water come together to form your mucus for your mucous membrane. The mucous membrane is like a sheet. It catches toxins. If the toxins are active, it hits it with things like alcohol and peroxides to neutralize it. That's why the mucus turns colors. It's hit with different things to deactivate the problem, bind it up, and when you cough, the stuff you cough and blow out of your nose comes out. So the water, she needs to continue taking in the water. This sounds like it's a wet lung issue. So when you have a wet lung issue, you probably need something more drying. I believe people say, take a look at mullein and be careful because I hear that if you look up a picture of mullein, there's a lot of things that look like it, so you might get the wrong one. But they say mullein is one of those things that can be driven to clean out the lung. But do a look up on mullein to see what you find about that. Did he say congenital heart failure?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a problem. That's a position where you need the doctor's help as far as getting back into what we call homeostasis or the normality, because when the doctors save us from things we do to our body, you've actually gone beyond the point where your body is able to live. That's what they set standards for, meaning your doctor says at a certain point, your blood pressure is so high that this could happen and you'll have sudden heart failure. Because what's happening is it's pumping. Your heart is doing so much work and not getting rest. And it can't get rest. Sleep don't matter. It cannot get rest because there's toxins in the body where if it rests and it doesn't pump hard enough to make the body respond fast enough to the toxins, and it decides to go to sleep in the middle of that, the toxins will take you out. So the heart's beat must remain high in accordance with the toxin load in there. Once that hits a certain point, the doctor says, damn, I think this has gone on so long that your heart can't continue to keep up with the work that's necessary without the heart failing itself. So
Let's
what
get it.
we're going to do is give you some medication to slow your heart down.
Okay.
So
Let's
you
try.
need a doctor, to bring them back into a decent position, and then you can work your holistic health channels to continue on from there.
Let's try to get another question. What is the benefits of sea moss?
What's the benefit?
Let's try to keep it short so we can get at least three or four more questions. What's the
Oh,
benefits of sea moss?
all right. So sea moss is something from the ocean or from the beach, right? So we already automatically know that it contains major constituents in gel form for hydrating things. And if you have the Chondrus crispus version, there's Gracilaria and Chondrus crispus. They both have their own advantages. I believe the Gracilaria has the carrageenan in it, and the Chondrus crispus is known as curly cartilage because it contains most of the materials needed to rebuild ligaments. So it's got the silica, it's got the phosphorus, it's got some calcium, I believe, in it. And they always say it has a bunch of minerals. How many minerals sea moss has in it at any given time depends on the ocean section it came out of. So it can have up to a certain amount of minerals. But what we do is we add things like bladderwrack into it to boost the mineral content, or clove. So you want to take certain herbs with the sea moss, and now you have a concoction that it's a gel-like substance. So it's cleansing. So you can add it to teas and let it diffuse over the tea. It'll help your mucous membrane. So it'll help bind up toxins and get it out. So it's very cleansing. and it's got the constituents to help build up bone and cartilage and things. So it's good for that. So that's your general benefits of sea moss. It is a good staple thing to have in your diet to blend with other things. So instead of using bananas in your smoothie, most of them bananas don't have the seeds in it anyway. The original bananas are like red and purple and stuff. Those
All right.
have seeds in them.
Two more questions. Two more questions. We got about 6 minutes. Um, uh, I can't say her name. She said, "What are the benefits of being a vegetarian or being a
Mm.
vegetarian?"
Well, it depends on what, if I believe you're actually saying vegetarian in today's definition. Back in the day, vegetarian was the definition for vegan. Today, vegetarian means you can eat eggs and chicken and turkey and things that are not like red meat. But here's the problem: they got things like ovo vegetarian, and lacto vegetarian. So lacto could mean something like you don't eat dairy, but at the same time you'll eat chicken. And then you got ovo vegetarian where it's like no chickens and no, I mean, my bad, no chicken, and things like that. But eggs are fine. Like it changes. So if you're talking about what are the benefits of vegetarian? It's like half the distance to being vegan. But if you really meant to say what are the benefits of being vegan, I mean, if you know the foods to look for and the proper lifestyle, which is going to be fruits and veggies in their natural form, local if you can, or organic, but make sure it's not a bad definition of organic, like organic seedless grapes. We know organic doesn't mean healthy all the time. You have to make sure it's in the form that it's supposed to be in. But the benefits to having a vegan diet, if you're getting sun, clean water, and air, everything. If you have bad health problems, I'm pretty sure at least 80% of them joints is going to be corrected strictly by you doing all those things just said: proper sunlight, water, oxygen, and proper diet. You'll reverse a whole lot of stuff. I promise you, you will not have colon cancer if you eating fruits and veggies.
All right, last question. What would you recommend for an internal cleanse or detox?
Bitters. Internal cleanse is going to be, if you want to do if you want to do a cleanse and you don't have diabetes or any of those regular problems and you're just a general person trying to do something standard, then you can go heavy on the fruits and veggies. And the water from the fruits and the fruits and stuff will cleanse you out. The veggies will add in minerals to help stabilize you. If you add in herbs are like concentrated minerals with energy movement. That's why cayenne pepper gets hot. That's an energy movement. It pulls water out of your body and moves it to the edges of your body. But then when it wears off, it pulls the water that's left back in. But if you do something processed, it'll pull the water out of your body and it'll stay out. So you gotta basically, for a detox, I would recommend finding you some bitters. Would be a very good start. For a cleanse, that's going to be diet driven. So a lot of watery vegetables. I want you to do. You can juice things like celery, parsley, cilantro, lettuce, some Granny Smith apples, lemon juice. But make sure your concoctions are good. Like don't try and do like 18 Granny Smith apples, 2 slices of pineapple, a couple of carrots, and then say, all right, I'm gonna just put in a couple of sprigs of spinach. Like really balance that thing out. Try and get more greens than fruit because that's usually what people are missing.
All right. So close us out. I got 3 minutes. Close us out.
All right, people. So that's as far as I was able to go with things. As you can see, I was flipping through some additional things that I could have talked about. Keep these things in mind that we can go over later. You guys can bring them back up if you want. My Cash App again is $Marvin Burwell. A lot of you guys threw some stuff in the super chat. That is George's channel. George is the one who brought me on. So I appreciate y'all hooking the brother George up for bringing me on. But if y'all want to send anything that goes to me, you have to send it to my Cash App under $Marvin Burwell, because that's George y'all taking care of. I don't like to take another, that's his thing. I don't like to take from another person. So that's George y'all are supporting with the super
We
chat.
gotta figure out a way to get it off the super chat so I can send you some of it.
Yeah, y'all have to. If y'all want it to go straight to me, like if all of that went straight to me, then knowing the way I am, I would have cut some in for George anyway. So just so y'all know, if y'all wanted it to go to me, then you have to send it to my
Send it to
It's
inside the banner here. When you see the banner moving across the screen, it's money.
$, Marvin Burwell, and make sure there's no space in between it. All right, if y'all want to send it to me. But I hope y'all really appreciated the information. There's always plenty more, but I tried to take what I gave y'all and make it as simple as possible. See, that's the end right there. Like y'all weren't too far, but there's plenty more. I got a lot of 5G stuff still in me. If you guys want that later on, me and George can pull some articles and set up a show for that. It's lots more to come, y'all.
Yeah,
So
we
as
got.
y'all grow in y'all areas, we gonna grow in our areas, and we gonna keep the exchange going, keep the light flowing.
All right, so I want you guys to look forward to the Urban Nerds because I told you guys we had the Urban Nerds thing coming, and this is my partner in the Urban Nerds. So I'm finishing up everything else, so we gonna have the Urban Nerds channel up and running. But yeah, it's going to be a lot more to this. This is just the first. This is just the first one. I'm glad that you guys came and watched this, and I'm definitely going to do a part two to this because while we're home right now, you guys are going to have information on what to eat, how to
Hey,
eat, when you
hey
should.
George, I just want to say thanks to Malaka and Jeremy. I want to say thanks to y'all. I'm looking at my phone now because I was going in. I don't check my phone the whole time I'm going in, but I'm seeing now. And thank you guys. Damn, I didn't know we went for 2:30.
Yeah, yeah. We went for a minute. Let's get out of here. I got to go pick up the wife. Yeah, like I said, I want to thank you guys for coming in and getting this information. This information is very much needed. Um, Thank you for the support. So remember, I love my people more than they hate themselves, and I pray to the universal creator most high that these words was enough to inspire you. These words was enough to make you look at yourself in the mirror and make change. These words was enough to make you look at your children and know you have to make change. I hope that when you came here for information, and when you leave here greater than what you was before you came. You leave here edified. I hope that you share this information on your Twitters, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, your YouTube channels, anywhere you need to share this information so people can get this information can get out to the people. We do this for the love of the people, man. And the more support we get, it enables us to actually bring more information to you guys, man. So we're trying to create our own network over here. George Macon, Marvin Burrow, Soul Mind, and Black Ice TV, man. The more and more you see black men working together, we're trying to actually create a network over here where we can have great information. So remember, it's time for me to get the wife. I love y'all. To the next time. Peace.
All right, all right.